Can everybody hear me? Yep. I want to welcome everybody tonight. If we could go ahead and stand and for the prayer and the pledge of the flag. Thank you.
Almighty God, you created us all in your image and commanded us not to hate in our heart, not to bear a grudge against any of your people, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Teach us to see the humanity in those with whom we disagree, and lead us in the way of peace. Protect our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, whose lives are now disrupted and threatened by military invasion and violence. We pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's turn to the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher. Appreciate that great prayer. And I want to thank everybody. This is our first time back in several months with the pandemic, and hopefully things are going to get, from here on out, it's going to get somewhat back to normal, so we're all proud of that. Okay, so let's start with the agenda tonight. Let's start with the agenda of March 8th. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, the chair moves that the agenda be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay. Next would be the minutes. Council has had the minutes for February 28th or February 8th before us. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, minutes.
I'm sorry, minutes. Hearing none, the chair moves that the agenda be accepted as unanimous consent. Next would be the disbursements for March 1st and March 8th. Council has had time to review the disbursements. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Okay, hearing none. Okay, the council moves that the disbursements be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay. All right, first up tonight, okay, is the Developmental Disabled Awareness Month. You guys want to come on up for your proclamation? We're glad to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, here, have a seat.
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Rondo. I'm the president and CEO of the ARC Central Chesapeake Region, and I have Dina Kilman, our director of engagement, with us. I wanted to take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about the ARC and the work that we're doing here in Talbot County. So the ARC Central Chesapeake Region is a regional organization serving Anne Arundel County and Maryland's Eastern Shore. We've been here serving Talbot County for over 20 years. And over the last 5 years have expanded services that on the Midshore region we're serving about 75 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live, work, and connect with their communities. This past July, we have purchased property on Port Street to develop Port Street Commons, which will include a 25,000 square foot building, which in your packet has some information about that, which will include a community hub for children and adults with disabilities to get resources, information, and referral and other programs, as well as behavioral health suite and program space. The other piece of it will include 8 affordable housing units for families that may or may not be connected to the ARC. Those will be 4 will be 2-bedroom units and 4 will be 3-bedroom units. We anticipate breaking ground on that project next spring, so in the spring of 2023, with about a 10-month build. It will allow us to grow our service in the Midshore area by about 50%, so bring into about 120 people we plan to serve over the next 3 years, as well as adding 35 full-time employee jobs, both here in Talbot County and the Midshore region, specific to here. Around that. So we've been really The county as well as the town of Easton have been really supportive of this project. I know I've met with a number of you about that, and I really appreciate your support, and we'll continue to keep you informed as this project moves on.
Okay.
I'd let Jonathan speak for us. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Yep. Good.
Hello, Mr. Barton. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
I'm sorry. So the affordable housing unit based on this design
Yeah.
will be within that same structure?
Yes, so essentially that one half of the building will be the ARC at Port Street, which will have the things I talked about, and one half of the building over 3 levels will include 2 units per level. So the first level will be zero barrier, meaning so if a family had a child with that used a wheelchair, that sort of thing, could access those units. And then 2 additional units per floor on the other, or 3 additional units per floor.
Will it have on-site laundry?
So each unit will have a washer and dryer in it. Each unit will have a microwave and a dishwasher. And so our model around affordable housing is making sure that the modern conveniences that you and I have are part of that. And so the ARC, through its subsidiary Chesapeake Neighbors, manages about 60 affordable housing units, most of which currently are in Arundel County, which all have on-site in-unit laundry as well as all those other amenities that I described.
And how many units for this?
There'll be a total of 8, 4 2-bedroom and 4 3-bedroom. The total cost of the project is about $7 million, and we've raised in the last 2.5 months since we started fundraising about $1.3 million towards that goal.
That's great. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pack. Anybody else?
I want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given me to look into your advanced plans. This is an organization that not only that now has a big impact in Talbot County, and with this expansion, your impact is only going to grow. And you have the vision to locate this right next to Easton's rail trail extension on Port Street, fulfilling part of the vision for the revitalization of Port Street. This is doing so much good on so many different fronts, and I just want to offer you every encouragement and thank you for bringing this vision to Talbot County.
Thank you, and I think being part of the community is really important to us. I meant to include that at least 25% of all the subcontractors in the development of the building will be Eastern Shore based, if not Talbot County based, but Eastern Shore based businesses that will be part of that development.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I attended the second meeting, I guess, that you had over at the Land Conservancy,
Yes.
where you portrayed it, and I mean, I've voiced many reservations that I have with you about this, and I appreciate you coming in to meet with us for the first time on this. And it's a big project. There's a lot of need for affordable housing in the community, and so I'm excited to see what you can offer for that. You know, we have development coming. We've got some other projects coming. So anything we can do to find how to make that more affordable, I'd be interested to hear.
Yes.
And so hopefully we can connect you with what's going on in the community and help those businesses, those individuals who are putting the investment here to figure out how to make it more affordable and keep those costs down.
You know, we're aware of the other development happening in the community. We are the only project right now that 30% or less of AMI will be included as part of the rent. The other projects that are more in the 40 to 60%, which ties into workforce housing. So when we look at the affordable housing spectrum, we are looking at the most neediest community members who may not currently have access to that. And that was intentional, knowing that the other development and the long waiting lists that are already existing at the other developments that are in or around that area currently. So we will continue to meet with as many people to learn more of what's happening, but we have been working hard to engage with the other development opportunities that are happening along Port Street.
And so you mentioned that you have $1.4 million in the bank so far.
We have committed through fundraising $1.4 million or $1.3 million, and we are active. We've only been fundraising for 2.5 months, We have a guarantee from our bank for our construction loan, so our fundraising will happen parallel to the actual construction timeline of this project. So as long as we hit 50% by the time we break ground next spring, our bank is willing to commit to a $6 million construction loan, so that way timing won't be affected by our ongoing fundraising. But we do have a number of both private and government requests out at the state and federal level that are in process now, but we won't know for the next 3 to 6 months until when those are committed.
Are you more funded through, do you expect this to be private donations for the majority of this?
About a third, more than a third will be from private donations. So of the $300,000 is from private citizens, some of which are here on the Eastern Shore, some of our ARC donors throughout the state. And then the $1 million is a commitment from the governor through his capital budget for this upcoming session.
Good, Mr. Pack.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. The 8 units, the residents of those units, will they have to be ARC clients, or is this open to general public too?
We've committed with the community to do a public lottery process, and so as long as you meet the income qualifications, which once we finalize the subsidy that will come from most likely the state, for that, there'll be a public lottery process that will probably happen in the fall of 2023 before the building is complete, for people to be able to apply, and then there would be a normal sort of process that would be determined. But the ARC's housing arms mission is to provide inclusive housing. So we don't want to just provide housing for people with disabilities, because then that's not inclusive, right? And so we want to make sure that there are options beyond that. And so while we will be keeping people with disabilities in mind when designing that there's no one we currently serve has been guaranteed those spots, and it will be a public lottery process to determine who will live there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. Ms. Price? Good.
Okay, thank you for the update.
you.
Appreciate it.
Well, Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read the proclamation into the record, please?
Proclamation, National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, March 2022. Whereas individuals with a developmental disability are of all racial, ethnic, educational, social, and economic backgrounds, and all are valued members of society. And whereas in the state of Maryland, over 1 million people, including over 9% of Talbot County citizens, have a disability. And whereas the ARC Central Chesapeake Region, the ARC, was founded in 1961 by a group of parents of children with intellectual and developmental disabilities who envisioned a fulfilling life for their children, including having meaningful jobs in the community, friendships, and social and spiritual opportunities. And whereas the ARC envisions a world where people with intellectual and developmental disabilities will live the lives they choose in communities that are equitable, accessible, and fully inclusive, and supports individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live the lives they choose by creating opportunities, promoting respect and equity, and providing access to services. And whereas March is National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, as designated by the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities. Now therefore, we, the County Council of Talbot County, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Developmental Disabilities Month in Talbot County, and encourage all citizens to recognize the valuable contributions made by individuals with developmental disabilities, who are a vital part of every community, and encourage them to join the movement by the ARC and other organizations to raise awareness of and support of individuals with developmental disabilities in our county. Given under our hands in the Great Seal of Talbot County this 8th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Council, do I have a motion and a second to
So
approve
moved.
this?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second.
Are
Madam
there any
Secretary.
other organizations with you?
There are not.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Aye.
Hand that out, that'd be great. Guys, would you want to come on up? That'd be great. Good job. Okay, that's good stuff. That's really good work, really good work. Okay, the next proclamation, okay, is
Endometriosis Awareness Month.
You got it. You got it. Okay, you got it. I was close. I was close. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm glad I get to come this year.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the second year that Talbot County has supported my mission to raise awareness about endometriosis, and I'm very grateful for that. This is the first time in Maryland history that a governor has issued a proclamation for endometriosis, and Governor Hogan issued one last week, along with lighting the State House up yellow to bring awareness to endometriosis, which is a big deal. My name is Shannon Hannawald. I am a wife and mother. I am also 1 in 10 women who have endometriosis. I am the founder of Endo Warriors of the Eastern Shore and an ambassador for the Endometriosis Association. Endometriosis is a disease that affects all aspects of your life. Emotionally, mentally, and physically, endometriosis can take everything from you, and it did to me until I decided it was time to fight back. Fight for awareness, education, and support so that generations after me do not have to go through what I and so many other women have. My pain started when I was 15 years old and started out as a doctor saying I had ovarian cyst rupturing. The pain is like 1,000 knives stabbing in your ovaries while someone is carving your insides out. After that, my pain just increased and the help and knowledge from the doctors decreased. My parents took me to so many doctors, and I have more CT scans and ultrasounds than I can count, all coming back with the results of nothing. How was that possible? I was in excruciating, debilitating pain that nobody could seem to help me with. My parents started to believe the doctors that I was just trying to get out of school, and honestly, when I look back on it now, they didn't really have a choice. Endometriosis not only affects you physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. I had severe depression and anxiety because nobody would listen or help me. I felt so alone and so dismissed by everyone, I didn't know what I was going to do. After 5 years, I finally found a doctor that would listen to me, and as soon as I told him my symptoms, he said, "I'm certain you have endometriosis." Endometriosis, what was that, and why had nobody else even mentioned this to me or my parents? The only way to diagnose endometriosis is through laparoscopic surgery. No blood work, no ultrasounds, no MRIs, no CT scans, just surgery. We scheduled my surgery, and sure enough, I had stage 4 endometriosis. That was the first of my 13 surgeries to try and help remove the lesions to help with the pain. One of the other main symptoms of endometriosis is infertility. The longer it takes to diagnose, the less chance you have of getting pregnant. An average diagnosis takes anywhere from 6 to 10 years to get. By the grace of God, I was able to have my first son with no intervention, but for my second son, I had to go through fertility treatments. Endometriosis has taken so much for me. I missed so many important dates and celebrations with family and friends. It took away my ability to have children like other women. It took a baby from me during fertility treatments, a baby that was loved and dreamt of, a baby that is missed and talked about daily. Endometriosis has no cure, only treatments. Some doctors will say to have a hysterectomy, but that will not stop it from growing on other organs. Some women do not experience the pain from endometriosis. They only find out about their condition when they are unable to conceive a child. Unfortunately, there are not many doctors, especially on the Eastern Shore, who have any knowledge about this disease. I've had numerous doctors tell me that they've had 30 minutes of education about endometriosis in medical school. That makes absolutely no sense. If endometriosis affects 1 in 10 women, why are the doctors and nurses only being educated for 30 minutes about this disease? Thankfully, over the past 20 years, there's been more awareness and education about endometriosis, but we are nowhere where we need to be, not even close. I feel as though my niece said it best, and it applies to all of us who fight endometriosis. She used the quote, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." This quote, to me, shows such importance in each of our stories and the constant battlefield we are on. We have all taken our diagnosis and grown from it. We have defined our character and have made a difference for others. I know some women do not want to speak publicly about a disease that is so personal, so I will speak for them. I will not stop until when someone says the word endometriosis, every single person will know what that is as much as they know what strep throat or an ear infection are. It is imperative that we all work together and support each other through this journey. My passion and drive are because I do not want anyone to go through what I have, but I have chosen to fight because you never know who is watching and learning from you. I ask you to remember, just because someone looks okay on the outside doesn't mean they are okay on the inside. If someone says they have endo, please remember this point in time and you will know how they feel. Endo affects each of us differently. It is such a complex disease that requires numerous specialists for each patient. There are no two stories the same. A quote by Maya Angelou was brought to my attention recently, and I think it defines endometriosis perfectly. Each one of us has lived through some devastation, some loneliness, some weather superstorm or spiritual superstorm. When we look at each other, we must say, "I understand. I understand how you feel because I have been there myself." We must support each other and empathize with each other because each of us is more alike than we are unalike. I will always be 1 in 10, but I will always be the one who speaks up and fights for help for anyone who suffers from this disease and their support system to help them through this difficult path in life. And Frank passed out yellow ribbons. I made up a yellow day, and I'm asking everybody to wear yellow or the yellow ribbon. I see you got your yellow tie. And if you can just post it to the Facebook support group page. I've had so many women reach out to me over the past year that they feel heard and they feel like they can advocate for themselves now because they don't feel alone. So that was basically my main goal, and to make sure that my nieces or future granddaughters don't go through what I have. So hopefully we can make it better.
That's great. That's great. Counsel?
So, thank you, Council, for allowing me this opportunity to put this on the agenda. It is something that hits very close to home for me, and I've seen it a lot in the community. I was shocked. I was in a group of 7 people, and 2 of them had gone through endometriosis and had surgeries from it, and hearing the stories out of 2 out of 7 people, and the mental side of it. I mean, this is one of those hidden diseases that is extremely painful, that you don't see what a person's going through physically, but mentally you do, and you're not sure what it is, how to help somebody. And so I'm glad that Shannon brought it to my attention. It was something that I had known about before she brought it to my attention, and seeing it again hit so close to home, knowing people, friends and family who've struggled with it. I was happy to get this out and put the word out, and since I've worn a yellow ribbon, I have been asked about it. And,
Yes.
the one thing that I'd like to say is that with a lot of business owners, this is with the mental health and with physical conditions that you don't see, it's very easy to overlook it and just become that kind of harsh critic boss. And you need a little bit of compassion. And sometimes as a guy, I'll say it, it's not something that is easy or readily comes to me. So I thank you, Shannon, for getting the word out on this. I know it is challenging. It's not the easiest thing to talk about. It's not the easiest thing for us to hear about, but it's definitely a concern in the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just thank you for the work that you're doing, raising this awareness.
Thank you.
And you're right, until it gets to a point where it's not uncomfortable to talk about, you have more work to do, and
Right.
all those around you, until it is part of everybody's vocabulary.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, Shannon, I want to applaud you for your courage, for coming here today and for using your voice to bring this to our attention. Just went on the website real quick and did some research while you were speaking. So can't imagine what you went through at a very young age, and as you said before, even being doubted by your parents and by professionals in the community because they didn't understand it.
Right.
And that can understand how frustrating and stressful that could be for a young person. So again, excuse me, I'm still going through a nasal thing here. So I just wanted to again applaud you for your courage. Hopefully, this will be an annual thing.
Yes.
That you come back and report to future councils on how you're doing with this.
Absolutely.
And now that we know, we will certainly be your champion as well.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and my hat goes off to you, it really does.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Like Council said, Shannon, you're an inspiration to the ladies that you've come forward and, opened the doors for them, and, it takes people like yourself to really open the doors for people to understand this disease, and I commend you.
Thank you.
You're a very brave woman.
Thank you.
That's for sure.
I appreciate
So,
that.
okay, Madam Secretary, could you read that proclamation in the record, please?
Proclamation Endometriosis Awareness Month, March 2022. Whereas endometriosis is a disease affecting at least 1 in 10 women of reproductive age, whereby the endometrium, a type of tissue that normally grows in the uterus, also grows outside the uterus. And whereas many of the estimated 200 million women worldwide who have endometriosis live with debilitating chronic pain and fatigue, on average experiencing a delay of up to 10 years between the first symptoms and the diagnosis, with between 30 to 50% experiencing infertility. And whereas although endometriosis can affect every organ of the body, even the eyes and brain, at the present time the disease can only be definitively diagnosed via laparoscopic surgical procedure, and healthcare providers must focus on managing the symptoms of the disease with various treatments. And whereas the first worldwide endometriosis March took place in 2014, with events held in more than 40 countries. And by 2018, 63 countries around the world were participating in the annual event, which has been sponsored by the American Medical Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, the Society of Laparoendoscopic Surgeons, the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, and the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology. And whereas there is a need for further research and increased funding for research of endometriosis, which would hopefully lead to earlier detection, the discovery of the cause of the disease, a reliable, less invasive, and less costly way to diagnose the disease, more effective ways to manage symptoms, and a cure. Now therefore, we, the County Council of Talbot County, do hereby proclaim March 2022 as Endometriosis Awareness Month in Talbot County, and urge all citizens to help increase awareness of endometriosis and the importance of diagnosing this disease, which to date has no known cure. Given under our hands in the Great Seal of Talbot County this 8th day of March in the year of our Lord 2022.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Okay, Council, is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Okay. Come on up, Shannon.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank
You did a
you.
really great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, next on the agenda is my buddy Santo. Come on up, buddy. We've got presentation of the Delmarva Community Transit FY 2023 Annual Transportation Plan.
Thank you very much for having us.
No, thank you for coming.
Sure.
You want another chair?
You want another chair, Andrew?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Good? You good?
Andrea's fine. She's okay.
Okay.
We're glad she's here, though. She's our statistician at work, so she keeps all
Okay.
the numbers on all the routes and passengers, et
I
cetera.
figured
So
she was the brains of the company.
Yes, she is. She's very important.
Yeah.
She's originally from
Okay.
Talbot County also.
Okay,
so
well, that's
she's
good.
Yeah,
That's
that's even
good.
better, isn't it? So
Yeah,
she-
that's even better.
So she's been doing a great job. She also writes our grants for the transportation program. So she's been with us for, how many years is it now, Andrea? 33 years.
Wow.
Worked with me every day for 33 years.
Have you got Andy straight yet? Not yet.
We're working on it.
Okay, all right. I know he's listening. There's no doubt he's listening, you know? Okay, all right. That's good.
Yes, he's straight.
Is he straight?
Yes,
Okay,
he
I
is.
got you.
And this is Keith Adkins, and Keith is our,
How you doing,
as I
Keith?
said the last
Good.
time we were here.
Appreciate you being here.
He's our new transit manager, so
Okay.
we're very glad to have Keith with us. And he's been a great addition to Delmarva Community Services, and we're really happy to have him. So I'm going to let him take over.
Okay.
Kind of give you background on what he's been up to.
Yes, sir.
And so
Yeah.
on.
Okay, welcome, Keith.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Council, thanks for the opportunity to present and request approval for the FY23 Annual Transportation Plan for Talbot, Caroline, and Kent County. This plan outlines a projected operating cost of $1,326,680 and a capital projected cost of $246,454. This is a 10% increase in operating for FY23 compared to FY22 budget. There were several factors that DCT considered in the FY23 budget, such as increases in fuel, wages to be more competitive in the job market, and ways to enhance service while looking at ways to make the operation more efficient. I'll go down the capital projects. It's 2 bus replacements, electric upgrade. We want to receive approval from you and MTA to provide an upgrade for the electric at the Denton location. So the maintenance on the buses can be performed there instead of, currently we're bringing buses from Chestertown, from Denton, from Talbot County to Cambridge. Sometimes we're having to pull them off the routes, and it extends in that coverage. So it'd be more efficient, and it will save fuel and labor costs. A vehicle replacement of a 2010 Dodge Nitro, an air compressor for the Denton shop, if approved. Currently, we had a bus lift at the Denton location that was approved by MTA a few years ago, and we would like to install that, along with a AC recovery machine at that location.
Okay.
So it's going to be, I mean, that's why the increase in the capital cost.
Sure.
Operations have been same. We've increased the operations in Talbot with the mobility on demand service. So, and that's been doing very well, and we're very happy to have that going on. But that's going to be a great benefit to the citizens of Talbot County.
Right,
So,
right.
So that's another increase.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Pack.
Yeah, Mr. Atkins, I'm looking at your capital projections right now, and it looks like the county's portion is only 10% of the ask. The feds are picking up the other 90%.
Yes.
So it is a very modest increase from the county's perspective.
Yes.
And we have been able to give the drivers an increase, the CDL drivers and the non-CDL drivers. Both of them got increases, hourly increases. So we're making them more competitive with the market in this area, so.
What are you projecting your fuel cost increase to be with everything that's going on right now? You have any idea what the ceiling is on that right now?
I mean, we just know it'll be $5 at some point, and then we don't know what'll happen after that, but we know it'll get to $5 a gallon, so.
And I'm not sure, you weren't buying fuel through a contract at a set price, right? So you're at market
Yeah,
rate?
we're in the market rate.
You're at market
right.
rate, okay.
It's hard with our vehicles because they're all over the place, and it's just hard to have a central fuel dump, you know, so, because we have vehicles all over the
Yeah.
upper shore area, mid-shore and upper shore area.
I'd like to share with council that we are looking into converting some of our newer buses to propane.
So we're going to move to
Yes,
that.
sir.
The on-demand service, so I'm on the senior, the Commission on Aging. One of the concerns that's been brought up is people with Alzheimer's, that they can't just ride the bus on their own, sit at a doctor's appointment and hop back on and take it back. Is that, the on-demand, would that help them, or is that still something that, kind of an unmet need that we should try to look for? Or?
Well, if somebody's been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, it would be really difficult for a driver to take that responsibility when he may have other riders on the bus with him.
Yeah.
You know, it's because it could take their attention away from driving if the person had an episode or was confused, etc. So it's a little bit different when you're dealing with Alzheimer's and people with dementia. So
Sure.
there's a heck of a lot more liability there for the driver, especially too, because it's kind of nerve-wracking for them.
Certainly understood.
Yeah, and Mr. Adkins, you were talking about the propane. Would this be a conversion over
Yes.
to propane? So this wouldn't be buying new vehicles that are...
No, sir, it wouldn't be a conversion.
This is buying a kit and switching them
Yes,
out?
sir.
Okay. Do you have a projection when you're looking at switching some of the vehicles out?
Currently, sir, we're currently getting estimates on electric for the fueling station. We would have to get MTA approval, put out RFPs and things of that sort. So I'm anticipated it's probably going to be 6 or 9 months.
Okay, so that would fiscal 24?
Yes.
Okay.
We can't do anything with MTA and FTA unless it's bid.
Right.
You know, so for us to go out and convert, 20 vehicles eventually, we
Well,
would have.
I know the school at one time, Laura, I thought the school at one time were looking to convert over to propane, and this was from some years back. I don't know what happened to it, but I know there was some talk about switching over to propane, so.
Okay, well, we can't thank you enough for all you do for us, that's for sure. You guys do a great job, and we're proud of you, and...
Thank you. We feel the same about you all too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we enjoy working with
Yeah,
you.
we-
You're a great
we
county
really-
to work with.
we really enjoy
So
working with you.
You're a model for other counties.
Yeah.
So,
Especially with the mobility on demand. It has really impressed the citizens of Talbot County, our drivers, the flexibility, and we thank you for that.
Okay.
Really do appreciate that. And again, as Sandy said, we're looking at that for potential models for other counties.
Entertain the motion?
Yep. Madam Secretary?
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the
Motion?
plan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
All right.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Council, if I can,
Yeah,
Andrea
sure.
has some documents if we can present, and
Absolutely.
you can get back to us
Yeah, sure.
at your convenience.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
It's the certifications and assurances.
You want to give them, yep, yep.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Good evening. Okay, next on the agenda, an introduction on number of resolutions, so, Mr. Clark, you want to come on up? Sure. Okay. Okay. All right, then. Okay, we've got several resolutions. I think we have, how many do we have, like 17?
I believe so.
Okay, yep, exactly. All right, so that's not many, All right.
Do you want me to read them all, read them one at a time?
One at
or-
a time, please.
One at a time?
Okay. That's what Mr. Pack said, that's what we're going to do. Okay.
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County Capital Project for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, to add a new capital project in the amount of $8.6 million for the purpose of replacing the town of Easton's Glebe water treatment plant with upgraded technology.
Council, we've received a request from Eastern Utilities to have this resolution included in the comp water sewer plan. Basically, for funding through MDE, we have to have the projects included in the comp water sewer plan, so this is why they're asking that. And the remaining capital projects that you have here are basically from the sanitary district doing the same thing.
Okay, all right, so Right now, I'll ask council for a raise of hands to introduce.
So that's by council.
Yeah. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and announce the number and the public hearing, the date and the time, please?
Okay, the number of this resolution is number 315, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM.
Okay. All righty. Okay, the next?
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County capital projects for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, to add a new capital project in the amount of $800,000 for force main pressure sensors and vacuum sensors for the Region 1, Unionville, Tunis Mills, and Copperville, Region 2, Royal Oak, Newcomb, and Bellevue, and Region 2, Martingham sewer service areas.
And these are basically, as highlights or sensors to help us identify potential sanitary sewer overflows.
Okay. A raise of hands?
Introduced by council.
Yep. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and call the number, the date, and the time, please?
This will be known as Resolution Number 316. The public hearing will be on Tuesday, May 12th at 6:30 PM. April 12th. Did I say May?
April 12th.
April
Okay,
12th, I'm
gotcha.
sorry.
No problem. Next, Madam Secretary.
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County capital project for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, to add a new capital project in the amount of $360,000 for a new emergency generator for the Region 2 Martingham sewer service area and Martingham water system.
And this is actually an emergency generator that's actually located on the Martingham's Utilities property, where we actually have our wastewater pump station. So this is a joint emergency generator for both the water system and wastewater system.
Okay, gotcha. Show of hands on this, council.
Introduced by council.
Madam Secretary, the number and date and time.
That will be known as Resolution Number 317, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM.
Okay, great. Okay, next one.
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County Capital Project for fiscal years 2023 and 2024, to add a new capital project in the amount of $2.190 million to eliminate septic systems in the villages of Barneck and Fairbank by extending sewer service from the Region 5 Tillman wastewater system.
And this will probably be picking up about 110 to 140 houses out in Barneck and Tillman and surrounding areas as well.
That's great, that's great. Okay. Yeah. Show of hands. I'm sorry.
A question for Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, those 110 to 140 houses, these are existing houses with
Yes.
many of them failing septic systems. What sort of nitrogen, what sort of pollution reduction is achievable with this kind of move?
Right now, because Tillman hasn't been upgraded with ENR at this point, you're probably looking at about a 50% reduction in the total nitrogen. So a house in this situation might be discharging, let's say, between about, I'm going to say 60 milligrams per liter, possibly get it down to 30 milligrams per liter. But going to the wastewater treatment plant, we might be getting it down to about 18 milligrams per liter. So unlike our Region 2 wastewater treatment plant, where we could see a house that has, let's say, about 12 to 30 pounds of total nitrogen per year going out into the, let's say, the groundwater, at Region 5, we can get it down to about 1.2 to 3 pounds per year instead of the 24 pounds.
A measurable improvement.
Yes.
Thank you.
A show of hands, please. Okay.
Introduced by council.
This will be known as Resolution Number 318, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County capital projects for fiscal years 2023 and 2024 to add a new capital project in the amount of $43,688,300 for the Region 5 Tillman wastewater system enhanced nitrogen removal, ENR upgrades, and eliminating septic systems in and around the villages of Sherwood, Whitman, McDaniel, and Claiborne by extending sewer from the Region 5 Tillman wastewater system.
Any questions?
This one would be, again, looking at ENR, enhanced nutrient removal treatment, for that area. We're looking actually building a new system, or a new treatment system at St. Michael's. So we'd be consolidating our wastewater treatment plant operations. And by doing this project, we'll actually exceed the septic load that's been allocated for Talbot County. We have to reduce our septic load by 37,050 pounds per year. So our target, we would actually get into the neighborhood of about 25,000 pounds of term nitrogen removed.
So ultimately, what would happen to Tillman? It would just be shut down completely?
We would probably be looking at Tillman to go ahead and build a pump station, and that would then pump all the wastewater flows, and then we'd probably have like step stations, a station maybe in Whitman and another station possibly in Claiborne that would send it all to St. Michael's. And then the advantage we have there is that property, because it, sea level rise potential, we wouldn't have the impacts there at that wastewater treatment plant. And ultimately, when we looked at sea level rise, our issue was actually getting transportation to the plant. It was really, if the roads become flooded and things of that nature, we wouldn't have the ability to operate. So by having it located in St. Michael's, instead of our guys having to travel 45 minutes each way, they're right there, and our operations can occur right at the St. Michael's plant.
I assume we get some help with the funding because that's a big ticket.
Yes, and that's actually part of the reason we're doing this. We are looking at a couple of sources of funding. One is with MDE, also a potential earmark through the federal agencies on this as well. So that's something we're looking at. And again, as we've highlighted, the key term right now is septic elimination systems, or eliminating septic systems is a real key word with EPA, so that's why we're calling it, septic elimination program.
The price tag was significantly higher. I mean, we're talking about TRAPPE a lot, and that wastewater treatment plant in the $7, $8, $9 million range. This one's a lot more.
Well, actually, this is associated with the conveyance too. So we're actually building the necessary pump infrastructure. So the houses would have step systems, septic tank, effluent pump systems. So it would be putting the pipes out from, let's say, the St. Michael's plant to the property line of all those houses. So, I mean, I can't remember the number, but it'd be probably close to about 1,500 houses, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's the cost that in TRAPPE, the developer's doing as he's building the homes and laying out.
Right, they're going to do that.
It's just not already there.
And then we've talked with MDE, so the council is aware that we've had discussions with MDE. The cost of upgrading the Tillman Island plant would actually, the funding that we would receive for that would actually go to St. Michael's for doing the treatment plant upgrade there.
Nice. Okay. This is huge. This is really exciting.
It's a big job.
Yeah, this is. This is going to make a big impact.
Yeah, okay. Raise your hands.
Can we do both?
Introduced by council.
Yep.
This will be known as Resolution Number 319, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 p.m. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to add or modify the Talbot County Capital Project for fiscal years 2023 and 2024 to add a new capital project in the amount of $800,000 for individual grinder pumps in the Region 1, Unionville, Tunis Mills, Copperville sewer service area.
This project, council, is associated with the fact that the pumps that were installed in Unionville are what we call Series 200 and 2000. E1 no longer supports that series, so these would basically replace those pumps with the new extreme pumps. So.
Okay. Council.
Introduced by council.
This will be known as Resolution Number 320, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of adding or modifying the Talbot County Capital Project for fiscal years 2023 and 2024 for the purpose of adding a new capital project in the amount of $1.5 million for sewer collection system improvements for the Region 5 Tillman Sanitary District.
And this project's associated with, again, doing what we call, I guess, corrective work for inflow and infiltration within the gravity system in St. Michael, or I'm sorry, within Tillman. We were very successful in getting funding through rural development to do that in St. Michael's. So this is, the game plan here is this system probably was installed back in the 1986. So this would be looking at improving all the manholes, hopefully addressing any leaks within the joints of the pipes, laterals, really trying to make the system watertight as best we can. So this would probably do a good job in helping us reduce that I&I flow coming in.
So even with the intent to pipe everything down to St. Michael's, this project would still be necessary?
Yes, yes. And the reason for that is that, we're trying to reduce the amount of flows coming in, so that means we have to pump less out and down to the system.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And some of that existing piping you're still going to be using anyway, those laterals, or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'll end up, again, from a big picture, we would not be looking at changing the gravity system for Tillman. It'd still go into the pump station. We would, at the wastewater treatment plant, we would have a pump station. That pump station would pump all the wastewater for the same, to St. Michael's. We still have to do as much as we can to make that system work.
Sure. So those laterals are still going to be used going
Correct.
forward. Right. Okay.
Okay. Show of hands.
Introduced by council.
This will be known as Resolution Number 321, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of reclassifying and remapping certain real property located on Miles River Road, Easton, Maryland, shown on tax map 24 as parcel 129 from unprogrammed to S1 immediate priority status.
And Council, just to give you a real brief, this is a resolution that the property owner, Mr. Kemp, brought to us. One of his properties was included in the sewer service area as part of Resolution 235. However, it's kind of like a small rectangular property that's been designated as S1, and because of there's blue line streams, there's no way to build on this. He owns a neighboring property, so we were looking at trying to bring that neighboring property in.
Council?
Mr. Clark, the title says that this is Miles River Road, but the map says that this is in fact Unionville Road.
It's actually, he's right off of Unionville Road. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to double check. I don't believe Miles River Road is there. I think it's Unionville.
Miles River Road branches off on the other side of the
I think
drawbridge.
it is, yes.
I know this neighborhood a bit, so we might need to make that correction.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other questions? Raise of hands.
So the existing property can't be built on, so the next door property?
He owned both properties, so he was asking if we could move the sewer service area over to the next property so he could build on that property.
So there'll still only be one
Correct.
house that can be built, not two?
Correct, yes.
So on the map, Mr. Clark, and it is off of Unionville Road.
Yes.
The one parcel we're looking at is Part 129. So he would be conveying the use from which property to this property?
There's a small triangular property that's right next to that property. It's I think maybe.
I see it.
Yeah, it's a very small property, and it's got like two blue line streams.
Okay. So when we look at the proposed, though, both areas are now shaded, which looks as though it gives me the impression that both lots could now have sewer.
Right. I mean, we could unprogram.
No, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the ask is. If the ask is to have this new lot, which is surrounded by, I mean, you know, it makes sense to me. I mean, it's surrounded by sewer on 3 sides.
Right.
I just want to make sure I understand what the ask is.
And the ask is basically to provide sewer to the vacant property.
To the vacant property,
So he can
okay. So we're
build a
not
house.
conveying it from one to the other? It's just-
No, it's
okay.
just,
Yeah, but I agree with Mr. Lesh. I think you need to make this change in the title.
I agree. It is Unionville Road.
Okay.
Okay. You can raise a hand.
So, yeah, one final question, Mr. Clark, following up on Mr. Pack's question on this, is there, I mean, could we be getting additional requests for construction here because there were 2 lots of record, one was unbuildable, the move of lot line, or is there a slippery slope here that we're going to see more?
I would say right now, the resolution is only for 1 EDU, so if that were to the case, they'd have to come back for the county, to the county council for increasing that to 2 EDUs per se.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Raise a hand.
Introduced by council.
This will be known as Resolution Number 322, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of reclassifying and remapping certain real property located on St. Michael's Road, Maryland Route 33, Easton, Maryland, and shown on tax map 33 as parcels 38 and 105 from unprogrammed to S1, immediate priority status.
And this is the property, I think, that used to have the Kirkham Station. I did, in working with the property owner, Mr. Hufsteller, Settler, I think it is, basically, he has received a letter from Environmental Health indicating there's no way to do a septic system on this property. So that's the reason, you know, moving forward with that request.
Probably not big enough.
It's so wet. It's the high groundwater and poor draining soils. He's unable to do a septic system.
So what does he want to put there?
He has been
Little store or
talking about
something?
one of the things he was talking about is going back to what was there before. Like there was a service station and a store. So that was what he was talking about.
We looked at the property, Clay did, for substation.
But this isn't the same thing as, oh gosh, I remember back in 2010 when you guys had the big discussion over Carroll's Market and
Right.
connecting in.
No.
This is not the same.
It
type of
is
thing.
not, and to your point, Resolution 175 would say it would be contiguous, and also the force main would be next to the property. In this situation, I don't believe the force main is next to the property, it's on the other side of the road. So, that's the big
But
difference.
it's not contiguous.
It's
right?
not, no, it's the force main coming from Unionville is actually on the other side of the road.
And 175 only pertained to those, to that line serving Unionville, Newcomb, Bellevue.
Really, it was from the Unionville pump station, so
Right.
175, in fairness, 175 would set the requirements for this, but it's on the other side of the road, so. Again, he has no ability at this point in time to do anything on that parcel.
You know the lot size?
I thought it was in the resolution, it's not much, it's not much land.
It's a lot, about a quarter acre.
It's,
They're less than that.
18,615 acres. And, I mean,
That's 8.5.
and then another 1.68 acres right
It's
now.
good.
If the building had never come down, because there used to be a building there, would they have had to go through this process? Couldn't it? Doesn't matter, but.
And that's a good question. I mean, if they did raise the building. My understanding, once they've raised that building, the Environmental Health Office would have worked with them to try and do something, but because it went over a year, the health department has to look at this as a new site. And so they're coming
But
back.
in theory, if the building had never been gone, he could have just stayed on
Correct.
septic.
Correct.
But he wouldn't have enough for spray fill. You need 2 acres to spray, right?
Yeah.
But he was already existing.
This is a very bad, I mean, it's a
Treatment of
difficult
the
property, I
new
hate to
bill.
say that.
Yeah.
He would have to qualify with 2 acres. Yeah.
I know the property owner's tried. He's looked at all options. He's been working with environmental health. Environmental health has come back and said there's nothing, you can't do a septic system on the property. So we did get a letter for that, but again, I told him that, it was his desire if he would like to go through the comp sewer plan process. Just no guarantee.
Any more questions, council? Raise your hands.
I'll go along with it. It has to go to the planning commission anyways.
Right.
Right.
This is just to get it there.
Yep.
This will be known as Resolution Number 323, and the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of reclassifying and remapping certain real property located at 26491 Royal Oak Road, Maryland Route 329, Royal Oak, Maryland, and shown on tax map 41 as parcel 156, and certain real property located on Royal Oak Road, Maryland Route 329, Royal Oak, Maryland, and shown on tax map 41 as parcel 233, lot 1, from unprogrammed to S1, immediate priority status.
And these two lots, council, currently we are in the process as part of Resolution 235, extending sewer out to about, I want to say, maybe 10 houses, small lots, and they would be along the route. So they're just, let's say, south or north of those properties. And there's one property that's right on the road and another property just behind the road. And if I'm not mistaken, the one property that's on the road has an improved structure, and the one that's behind the road does not. It's unimproved.
Which would give them the ability to build a house there then?
Correct.
Council?
I'm good.
Raise your hands.
This will be known as Resolution Number 324, and the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purpose of reclassifying and remapping certain real property located at 26383 Royal Oak Road, Maryland Route 329, Easton, Maryland, and shown on tax map 41 as parcel 214 from unprogrammed to S1, immediate priority status.
And this is a property that's just outside the Royal Oak, Newcomb, Bellevue sewer service area, but it's on the same Maryland Route 329 where we're going out to pick up those 10 houses. And it's also just before the Stevenson McEachern property.
So this property looks significantly larger? So,
Right. And it's just for one EDU. I'm not aware that they're proposing anything else.
but they can't, again, I still believe sewer is better than septic and it
Right.
cleans it to better levels and all of that, but do they not have the ability right now to do it on septic?
They were coming in requesting sewer at this point in time.
Is there a house there now?
There is, yes. And I don't know what the size of the house is. I thought I might have provided that, but I'd have to look at it. I can get that for you.
It's just basically converting a house on septic to a house on the sewer line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's good then.
It's 1,120 square foot home, built in 76.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't too big. I thought it was small.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, raise a hand. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this. Will go, all these stuff when it comes to wastewater will be going to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Correct.
And
Just wanna-
Public Works, yes?
And Public Works. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. So it's not automatic.
This will be known as Resolution Number 325, And the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to authorize Talbot County, Maryland's acquisition of the wastewater treatment plant serving the preserve at Y Mills, with the wastewater treatment plant being located at Rustling Oaks Drive, Y Mills, Maryland, 21679, described as tax map 01, parcel 98.
And council, in working with the Office of Law, we did review the shared sanitary facility ordinance, and that we can actually move in this direction by amending the comp water and sewer plan as the process of taking over that facility. What we'd be looking at is the preserve at Y Mills would actually be gifting the wastewater treatment plant to the county.
It's
And
a
then we would
gift.
take.
What a nice
It's a
gift.
I'm just,
Nice.
I'm just like, we're not, was that?
Will there be a ribbon cutting?
I'll let you all handle that.
Yeah, nice gift. All right.
Well, this has been quite a while coming, and I thank you for all the work that you've done to get this up to this point, so that
Right.
so that we can clean up this situation.
Yeah, the next stop is trying to get money now, so that's
Yeah.
what we're working on.
Mr. Clark, I see that there's a chart attached to this proposed resolution. Are these the numbers that I requested during your budget presentation regarding the Preserve at Y Mills plant? If you remember, you had some...
I gave you some information, but
Did you
after the
send me
budget, yes.
Did you send me a chart?
Yes, I sent you the Excel spreadsheet that they gave me on their financial stuff. I'm not sure,
I will look.
I thought I did.
Okay.
And I thought I sent you the budget and the,
In the chart? Okay. I will search. I may have overlooked it. Thank you.
Any other questions or anything like that? I just wanted to say, we've been working on this with Mr. DeVillio, and I think Mr. Pack was out there maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. So it's really, there's a lot of people out there tonight listening to us on wastewater treatments and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the council wants what's best for the community, okay, in the county. And this is really a good step for us that makes us look, I feel, really good that we're stepping up to the plate in saving a community is what we're really doing.
and. So
And I really appreciate, Ray, all your hard work on this, you know what I mean?
Wow.
I really do.
Well, I think, just so you're aware, I mean, this actually came to us from the Property Owners Association.
Right.
Brought it to our attention back in 2018, so.
Oh,
it's
at
been a while.
18,
Yeah.
okay. So, it's taken a while to get there, but, that's what we're here for, to help these communities.
And things are moving, I would say. We are working with the Maryland Department of the Environment. Things are
Good.
moving with the Maryland Department of the Environment, so we're trying to get the funding all laid out. I think
Great.
we're working with Office of Law as well as County Manager's Office as well, so.
Great, that's good.
We'll be keeping you abreast.
Okay. So, we'll show of hands?
Introduced by council.
And Mr. Clark, I do have that chart. Thanks.
Okay, I thought you.
The public hearing, this will be known as Resolution Number 326, and the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan for the purposes of providing that startup wastewater treatment for Phase 1, Section 1 of the Lakeside project and its treated effluent shall at least meet enhanced nutrient removal standards, and further providing that connection to the existing TRAPPE wastewater system is conditioned in part upon the existing system not having any outstanding Maryland Department of the Environment enforcement actions, consent orders, or violations.
We were actually, I mean, I can probably turn it over to Patrick if you like.
Sure. So this resolution was requested by Councilmember Price, and what this would essentially do is amend the plan for the purposes of providing that wherever the wastewater from Phase 1, Section 1 of the Lakeside project is treated, it'd have to be treated at ENR standards.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would say is we had 313, and that was looking to do a compromise, and that was not considered consistent with comprehensive plan. We'll talk more about this later, because we'll get to that vote. And then Amendment 1 was a little more restrictive, I think, than was really intended. I think the point was just to have ENR standards in whatever format they could connect to. And it didn't get written exactly, I think, the way that it was intended. And so this allows a lot more flexibility. It just has the developer connect to some type of ENR, whatever they can bring in, allows them flexibility to do that in whatever way would be best. And the reason it's on the agenda tonight is, obviously, we don't know. We didn't have a decision by the Planning Commission on the amendment. And certainly, we don't know how the vote's going to go down, in a half an hour or whatever. Because right now, and then the next resolution will address this, because right now we can only introduce these once a quarter at the first meeting, we'd have to wait till June. So there was really no other option except to at least put it on the agenda tonight for introduction, and we'll see how the rest of the night goes.
Okay.
I'm good.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I
Yeah.
have my concerns about about the resolution.
It's just introductions.
Yeah, I know. I'll defer my comments for a later time. I just have some concerns about it.
I won't be supporting it.
All right, just so, show of hands. Okay.
This will be known as Resolution Number 327, and the public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 p.m. A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to revise Chapter 3 Amendment Procedures.
Okay. Right?
And I'll defer to Office of Law, Patrick, on this one.
Sure. So again, this was requested by Councilmember Price, as she just mentioned. So this resolution would amend Chapter 3 of the Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to provide that the application procedures that are set forth therein do not apply to any amendment initiated by the county. This would give and they would allow the county to introduce any of these amendments on any legislative day, so it would give the county more flexibility with these amendments, and hopefully avoid like the log jam we have here this evening with these amendments, and would have to wait until June to bring them back. It would just give us some more flexibility in that respect.
Exactly right. So we won't get 17 resolutions in one night. Or if we have an emergency, we're able to deal with it and all wait.
Okay. Council? Okay. Show of hands.
This one.
Introduced by Mr. Callahan, DeGilio, Lesher, and Mr. Price.
I'm sorry, did he call? I
Yeah.
have my head down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
By council then.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
I have my head down.
Hey, no problem.
I didn't hear you if you
I didn't
spoke.
look, Mr. Pack, I'm sorry.
This will be known as Resolution Number 328, and the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 p.m.
And they're really all going to happen right at 6:30 on the dot. All 17 of them.
And lastly, a resolution to adopt a temporary moratorium on the processing of applications for large-scale solar energy systems beyond the special exception stage for a period of 5 months pending consideration and adoption of such legislation as the county council may consider advisable to promote public health, safety, and welfare.
You want to come on up, Miguel?
Thank you, members of the council. As you recall this draft resolution came out from the work session that you had with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission had requested that work session to talk about our current solar regulations in Chapter 190 of the Talbot County Code, and in particular, some concerns they expressed about large-scale solar energy system projects and their impact on agricultural lands, in particular prime agricultural soils in Talbot County, and this moratorium would allow the Planning Commission and the Council and the public to take a look at our current regulations to see if there are ways to offset those impacts. And so we felt 5 months was appropriate. This resolution would place a 5-month moratorium on any permits that would be issued after a special exception, because mitigation, large-scale solar energy systems require a special exception approval by the Board of Appeals. The mitigation issues that the Commission expressed concern about at the work session really happen at the site plan level, which is after special exception approval. So this resolution would actually place that moratorium for 5 months on any approvals beyond the special exception.
Okay.
I was not able to attend the work session due to my health. So why the need for a moratorium? Is there a mad rush for large-scale solar developments in the county?
Well, we currently only have one in process right now,
And that's currently in process, which means this moratorium wouldn't affect that one.
Well, they're in process for special exception, and actually, their special exception was just heard last night at the Board of Appeals. And so, but, I mean, there is.
Do you know that finding of that special exception?
That finding for special exception that finding was approved.
So it was approved, so now the next stage is for it to have its site visit by your office?
So the Board of Appeals approved that special exception. The applicant for that project is aware of this resolution pending consideration by the council. And they're looking forward to being a part of that discussion as well. If this resolution were to be introduced by the council, they're looking forward to playing a role in talking with staff and the Planning Commission as we consider potential changes to mitigation requirements for solar regulations. The 5 months would give us enough time to be able to do that, and if anything comes out of it that requires legislation to be approved by the council, we feel the 5 months gives us enough time to be able to do that.
Is there anything, and I remember when we drafted the current the existing solar legislation, we had work sessions on that. We heard from a number of individuals regarding where they could go in the county. They had to be near a transmission line. They only could go in certain zoning areas. So we did a lot of work on that legislation. What about the legislation as it's currently written is, again, would a moratorium address?
So
Can I take this?
Yes, I wasn't there. So
I hate a moratorium.
Right.
And I just wanted to applaud Mrs. Price for speeding up things in the previous one, when government acts slow. This is a new concept that's coming, and with technology constantly changing, and I really feel that we just have one chance to do this right. We've seen other counties that have tried to fight this and try to fight the solar farms, and when they do, they just get run over and set aside, and the state does what they want to do with, because there are a lot of state incentives and a lot of advantages for doing it, as well as there's a plan for it. So what we came up with was that this is, yes, it is a moratorium, but it's a plan. There's 5 months. We chose that time so that we could be quick with this, deal with a timeline for the meetings, and come up with the best use of this land. Because there are concerns of if they pull the topsoil off, there's better ways to farm between some of the panels. You can do things like that. There's opportunities to work with pollinators to improve the environment. There's a lot of things in play with this, and and there's other boards that are involved with it too. So it's not, we're not trying to stop it, we're not trying to slow it down, we're just doing it, in my mind, trying to do it right. Because this is a big 730 acre project that's, I think, been applied for. So we want to, I don't want anybody to get the misconception that we're trying to just stop it and we're doing this to prevent something. This is strictly to make sure we've got it right.
Well, we got Mr. Council here. Mr. Council, would you like to come up and comment on this, or you?
Not really, but.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I knew you probably did.
Yeah, but you had such a good idea and explained it so well.
You did, and I appreciate it.
Yep. So, CHIP Council, Chairman of the Talbot County Planning Commission. So, Mr. Pack, you and I had a conversation on the street one day, and we talked about the mitigation requirements in the large-scale solar ordinance of the county. And what it currently says is that, and Miguel, help me out here, but for every acre that's in the solar field, the developer would have to set aside an equal number of acres through a reservation of development rights. You were under the impression that it would be an equal quality of land, much like the open space requirements, but it isn't. It just says an equal number of acres. So when we got looking at that, when I look at most of the farms in Talbot County, the solar developer could develop the farm fields, use the wooded or wetlands or unbuildable, undevelopable area for his reservation of development rights. So I didn't see where that was really accomplishing what was the goal of, I think, you at the time, as well as the solar committee. So we came up with an idea for an offset. So what the offset would do is a solar developer would pay a fee to Talbot County that would be used for land preservation in the county. So the offset would go towards Talbot County's share of the MALF program, their matching funds program. So for every $40 that the county puts in, MALF, the state, would put in $60. County puts in 40, MALF will put in 60. So Talbot County would get $100 worth of land preservation for every $40 invested. So funding the land preservation program has always been a challenge. There's huge demand from farmers that want to do it. So we thought maybe this was an opportunity to explore to fund that program. So by my calculations, and this is just back of the envelope, but if we were to see our acreage cap of just say 700 acres, and that cost share were the easement value of last year's easement, which was around $7,000 an acre, I believe. So 7 sevens are $4.9 million if we saw a total build of the cap. So if we took that $4.9 million and got matching funds from the state of 60%, somebody help me out here real quick, but I think that's like $13 or $14 million that the county could use to preserve farmland, which is more than we've done in the last 15 years.
So the moratorium would allow you to revise the current mitigation process. Okay.
Yep.
Well, and to look at whether or not it's feasible, one of the things we mentioned at the work session is that this came out, what Chip talked about is this came out of the governor's task force report. It was on solar regulations.
Correct.
Right, as
Correct. Yep.
one idea for implementation.
All right, and I wasn't there. Thank you, Chip. That explains it.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's some little things that I think we have to do.
Okay.
Mr. DeVillio mentioned of removing a topsoil. We want to make sure that a landowner doesn't strip all the topsoil off, sell the topsoil, put the solar field in, and move on. You know, that's just something that we have to do.
Yeah, well, isn't there a requirement that if the field becomes unused, well, if the solar field is not of use, that they only have to pay to get those panels removed and return the field back to open space?
If it's been abandoned
If it's been
for 12 months or longer.
Yeah, 12 months or longer, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it says they have to remove the panels, and it's returned to open space.
Right.
But again, that topsoil doesn't say anything about that, so.
So it won't
Yep.
be agricultural field anymore?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you. You're much better than what I said.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, you started.
I wasn't there, so
Yeah.
I just want to
So
get
you got the
Cliff
Cliff's Notes version.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. You guys stay right there, okay?
That's what I just don't say.
All right, okay. So, good, good.
Well, I'm sorry.
We got one more thing.
So we formed a committee last time we did a moratorium looking at the Carroll's Market project. Last one I remember. We will put this committee together then, correct? The moratorium, we had a committee that was formed.
I don't think we did that at the work session. You guys were gonna work as,
Yeah.
together,
Yeah,
weren't you?
there was a committee that was formed.
That was that.
I was on that. You mean the solar committee?
No. The last moratorium we did was Carroll's Market. That we put
I
out
don't know
there.
that we talked about it.
It's got a
Yeah, I
committee.
don't-
Committee for this particular purpose.
Yeah.
How about, so in the interest of time, I think this is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty directed. I don't know if you would be agreeable to the Planning Commission having a shot at this, bring in some experts. We've come to find that there's a lot of knowledge in the county that we can reach out to and come back at you with something. Not, I'm not opposed to a task force or whatnot. I'm just trying to think about a time frame. Miguel, do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, the county code allows the planning commission to suggest or propose amendments to the text of chapter 190, including solar regs. And so if this came out of the planning commission in terms of the request for the work session, if the planning commission leads that effort, we'll come up with a game plan on how to solicit input and conversation and come back to the council with some suggestions, if there are any that come out of it, in terms of amendments to the code for the council to consider.
Council, is that okay with
That's
council?
okay. That's
Okay.
fine.
So long as it doesn't prolong this process, I think we want to.
Quick.
Right.
That probably would be the quickest way to do it,
Yep.
right?
Okay. All right, so, all right, do we raise the hands of going forward?
Yeah, you haven't done it yet.
Used by council.
Yep.
This will be known as Resolution Number 329. The public hearing will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM.
That's good. All right. Good job, Madam Secretary, with all that. Okay, now we're next on the list here, we got 308 and 313 Ellsworth Road. Could you go ahead and read Resolution 308, please?
Resolution Number 308, a resolution to rescind adoption of Resolution Number 281, a resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan, the plan to reclassify and remap portions of certain real property located in the town of TRAPPE, Maryland, associated with the Lakeside Planned Unit Development, the Lakeside Project, formerly known as TRAPPE East, further described as Tax Map 54, Parcel 304, Tax Map 55, Parcels 14, 15, 17, 19, 44, 65, 83, and 85, and Tax Map 59, Parcel 4. The total area consisting of 865 acres, more or less, the property, from S2 and W2, areas where improvements or extensions to existing or construction of new community, multi-use, or shared sanitary facilities are programmed for progress within 3 to 5 years, to S1 and W1, areas served or to be served by community, multi-use, or shared sanitary facilities which are existing, under construction, or have immediate priority status. To amend the plan to add certain water and sewer capital projects related to the Lakeside Project and existing systems for the fiscal years 2020 through 2030, and to amend the plan to update the narrative description in the plan relative to the Lakeside Project and existing systems, as amended, without prejudice.
Okay, council. Lesser?
Well, let's start with Mr. Salinas.
Sure. So Resolution 308 is not a resolution to amend the water and sewer plan, so the planning commission didn't have the responsibility of certifying whether it was consistent with the comp plan, but the council did direct the planning commission to provide some sort of formal written opinion to the council, which I did transmit to you via memo. So they are at our planning commission meeting last week. They did discuss resolution 308, and they recommended to the council that the resolution be withdrawn in light of amendment number 1 to resolution 313, which they felt was a good compromise between all the parties involved.
And with that, I will, with that feedback from the planning commission, I will withdraw my sponsorship of this legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member?
And thank you for the time that the planning commission put into that.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Yep. Madam Secretary, do we need to call a vote on that, or we just withdraw?
He just withdrew it.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's move on to next one. Madam Secretary, could you read 313, please?
Resolution number 313, a resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan regarding the connection of Phase 1, Section 1 of the Lakeside project to the existing TRAPPE wastewater system.
Okay. So, Mrs. Price, was this something that was not
So
something?
do you want to get further into that, and Mr. Council's up there just to discuss what the
Sure.
planning commission did first?
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
You want to go ahead?
Okay.
Sure, I'll start. Sure.
Yeah. So at their March 2nd meeting,
Yep.
the commission voted that amendment number 1 to resolution 301 is consistent with the Talbot County Comprehensive Plan. During that discussion, they noted that the comprehensive plan policies support the protection of the county's waterways, and that an upgrading of the existing wastewater treatment plant to ENR standards can help with the existing impairment of LaTrappe Creek. And they also noted that there are alternatives to allowing connections to the existing plant. And I don't know if Mr. Council wants to expand on that discussion they had.
Yep. So I guess I'd like to start with a little bit of background. So as you know, a resolution or an amendment to the comprehensive water and sewer plan comes before the Planning Commission. So when the Planning Commission looks at consistency with the comprehensive plan, we go by 7 standards, and we look at those 7 standards alone. So your job is a little bit tougher than that. So if the Planning Commission finds that a resolution or amendment is consistent, it then comes back to you. But we do not look at the financial implications. We don't look at the interjurisdictional politics, if you will. We don't look at vesting, if that has occurred or if it didn't. And quite honestly, we don't even look if it's really practical. What we do is say, if the majority of the county council wanted to do this, is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? So
it's like a prerequisite before the council can take up whether or not they're going to adopt or not adopt the resolution. Of course, if they said it was inconsistent, then we have determined that the resolution can go no further, and either has to be withdrawn or tabled. But in this case, when it's certified, now it's at the council's, now it's the council needs to decide whether or not they're going to support the resolution. And they can have that deliberation because the planning commission has determined consistency with the comprehensive plan. And I think that's what Chip is saying. There are a lot of other factors, of course, that the council has to and has been weighing in the resolution.
right. So, when we look at a resolution or amendment, anything that improves water quality, I would bet that the Planning Commission is going to find that consistent with the comprehensive plan. But I would like to say that I think we're all trying to get to the same place, maybe from a little different aspect. And if there is the ability to do something to help the waters of Trappe Creek, I think we're all going to have to work together. We're going to have to be creative and work with all the parties involved. And I don't think the Planning Commission is interested in, we want to work together to support you to work towards that means. Whatever, whatever that is. So if it's possible to work towards something, that would be great. But I think, again, as I've said before, we will look at whatever comes before us that you want, we'll take a look at. But I think that's kind of where we're sitting at this point.
Okay.
So the letter that you all wrote in November, that basically, we've heard a lot of information, enough to cause concern. Maybe not all of it's true, but enough to cause concern.
Right.
Hence, we've been going through this process for close to 9 months.
Yeah.
And the letter that you all wrote in November basically said you wanted the startup phase, as written, that connecting the startup phase was not consistent with the comp plan, and that connecting to ENR technology, whatever that may be,
Yep.
whatever format is available to do that, whether it's something that would have been existing, which is not existing, or could be built in the future, or something that's temporary.
Right.
So in trying to draft an amendment, once it came back, I've been trying to come up with a compromise, never intending to stop the project. Obviously, there's people out there that don't like it. They just were hoping that it would just go away.
Right.
That's never been my intention, to stop the project. The original 313, which was basically to have the developers start building, once MDE gets through their process, because we're talking about two different processes here. You have the long-term for the big part of the project, and MDE has to decide whether or not they're going to give a discharge permit for the long-term. And it was kind of up to us to figure out what to do for this startup phase, first 100 and so homes.
Right.
And then when you all wrote the letter, that kind of threw a loop in things. And so when the original 313, which was just, okay, let them connect for 18 months, just put something in writing so it would just be a year and a half, maybe 2 years, probably not that much would get built, and we could all live with that. Well, that wasn't consistent, so it's like, okay, so now what? So based on your letter, I wanted it said, let's put an amendment on to connect to ENR technology. And I think all of the discussions I've said, I don't care what kind of ENR technology it is, as long as it's ENR. And the amendment did get written that the wastewater treatment plant itself needed to be ENR. Nobody caught it. That is probably too restrictive, because it does, I think, stop anything until the wastewater treatment plant is going to get upgraded. We know that's in the works, but that's 3 or 4 years down the road. Okay, so there's nothing about what we're doing here that speeds up or slows down what TRAPPE has in the works, which is great. I mean, that, just like, Tillman and St. Michael's, and they need to be ENR technology, but it takes time. Meanwhile, we have a development being built, and the question is there technology available to make it better, like you're saying, to protect the riverways, rather than just connecting to a plant? It's not great. It's compliance most of the time, but we have something better, and there is something better available. So the resolution that was introduced at the top of the meeting, just because of timing, I would have loved to have made Amendment 2 and said, you know what, Amendment 1 was not written the way I intended it to be written. And, we introduced it together originally. That happens. We've got been a lot of confusing conversation about this whole thing, and a lot of information for everybody to digest. But Mr. Thomas said that if we did an Amendment 2, which is basically the terminology, and I know you printed it out, same thing that we introduced, that I introduced, 20 minutes ago, could be Amendment 2, but it would still have to go back to you guys. So maybe the cleanest way to do it is, because Amendment 1, you know, unless the rest of the council feels differently, may be too restrictive. And my intent was always to just have them connect to some form of ENR technology, because it does exist, is, you know, just to let that new resolution in a very clean format so that we don't have to have amendments, this, that, and the other thing. Because if it was Amendment 2 with that terminology or a brand new resolution, the time frame is exactly the same, because it would have to go back to you guys the first meeting in April. Did I get that right, Patrick?
That's correct. So even if you were to introduce an amendment and went back to the planning commission, it's still going to go back to April, and it's, for their April meeting, it's still going to come back. You're going to have a public hearing on 3/27 on the 12th anyway, so it's really just complicating a process that's already got a straightforward path.
It's the exact same language, but it does allow the developer a lot more flexibility than Amendment 1 does. Again, in searching for a compromise to protect the rivers, that is doable, that there is something available that they could do. So I've always been just searching for a compromise to make things better for everybody.
I've got a question for Mr. Clark. So now that 308, now that 308 is gone away, and now we're back to the original 281 up and gone and at the cage. Okay, does this mean that the developer can go ahead and break ground on their new sewer system?
To my knowledge, from what I've been told, they have secured permits to go ahead and make the connection from the new development to the plant.
Not the connection now.
Right.
I'm just talking about
Construction
since the 213 is passed. Do they have the capability of now, were they holding up building that new plant?
What I would advise the county, if the county council were to vote for 313,
right,
and let's say as amended,
right,
that now is pending MDE approval. So I'd have to submit that to MDE for their approval. So every amendment that goes to the comp water sewer plan process, the county council, once the planning commission finds it consistent with the comp plan, the county council then votes on that, and they vote in favor of it. It's pending MDE approval. So every resolution that we process has to be submitted to MDE, and then they have to review it and approve it. And then
I understand that, but I think, and maybe I'm not asking it right.
Okay.
So 218.
281?
281.
281 is passed.
Correct.
It's right now.
Correct.
So can you explain to us now, what does that do now?
That means that the town and the developer are working as if, with MDE. They've approved that. They approved Resolution 281 as
Okay.
amended
Okay.
on November 4th, 2020.
Okay.
So
Right.
the town and the developer have moved forward in seeking permits through MDE. The one thing I think the developer's still working on, and I think everybody knows that, is the discharge permit. They have not received the final discharge permit. So that is still in review by MDE. So my understanding is that until MDE issues the final determination on the discharge permit, the developer is not in a position to move forward and construct the wastewater treatment plant. They would need that permit in order to get issued what they call an MDE construction permit to do that plant.
But now what you're saying is that permit is in their hands, not our hands.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So at that point, they are working with what they have done, what you were getting ready to explain, so everybody understands. The developer and the town of Trappe have signed an agreement, and they have paid them $600,000 to go ahead and hook up into their plant now, until they get their new discharge and their new plant all straight. That's where we're at.
Correct. And there's, to be honest, I mean, there's been nothing from MDE's perspective saying there's a change. Right now, they're working off of the premise that Resolution 281 was approved. They've approved it. they've been hearing a lot of information, and I think that's what transmitted the letter to the council
Right.
and then the planning
Right.
commission was what's going on, because they were asking questions about that. So I think because if the council had voted one way or another on 308, that meant MDE is going to have to take some type of action. If they do something, 313, MDE may have to take some type of action.
Right, yeah, that's what I want to get clear in my head, so everybody understands in a simplified way. So now where we're at now is they're hooked up. So,
No,
yeah, they are.
they're not hooked up.
They're hooked up. They're hooked up to town right now, okay? They're just waiting for the houses to be built.
That is my understanding too.
Correct.
They were secured a permit from MDE to make that interconnection between the new development of Lakeside to the existing wastewater treatment plant. That is my understanding. That was done and issued.
That's my understanding too.
Yes.
And they have issued, our county has issued the permits to build the new homes.
The county, I don't think we get involved.
Not the
in
county,
the town.
The health department has signed off on building homes there.
Thus, the environmental health office has signed
Yes.
off on the plat.
Gotcha, okay. To build the homes.
Correct.
A question or statement, question for
Yeah,
clarification.
okay, no problem. Yeah.
So 308, which was all about 281, was about what I'm going to say the long-term connection, whether they could build the spray irrigation plant for the long-term solution for however many homes they build. What 313 was intending to address was simply the startup phase for a finite period of time. Because however many homes get built, 5, 10, 50, or 100, in the next couple years, there's concern, based on a lot of information we heard about LaTrappe Creek, of hooking up that number of homes. So it's really, so there are two different things. So all I'm trying to say, 308 is kind of the long-term, big picture thing that's where MDE has the responsibility to approve or not approve that discharge permit. Where the county had a role that MDE doesn't really care about is this short-term part of it, which was 313, in how to deal with the startup phase. MDE has no role in that. So we had the role in the startup phase if we chose to change it, which we've talked about. But the 281, what you're referring to, you're right, is the big picture. But I think what we were trying to solve was the startup phase, and that's what 313, which is now going to be, maybe be 327, depending on what we decide to do here, was to address that. So they really were two different areas. I mean, and people got confused with them being together, but I think it's clear now that rescinding 281 is gone. Now we're just saying, should we deal with the startup phase and make that better, make that connection better for however long they're going to be connected while everything else goes through its process.
Right. And I agree with you, Mrs. Price. So I'm just trying to understand really what 281 does, okay? So 281 does exactly what you just said. It puts the developer and the town together. So, and let me know if I'm not right here. So once that happens, okay, everything's in that municipality, in the town of TRAPPE now. And it's TRAPPE doing what they want to do. So we're out of it now. So now what we're doing as a council, we're making an amendment and diving into a municipality, telling them how to hook up their septic.
And that's where,
Or sewer, I'm
that's
sorry.
where, again, going back, let's say you move with 313 or 327.
Yes.
The county council, whatever you decide to do, if you voted in majority for
Yes.
one of those resolutions, again, the council's action is pending MDE approval. So what would happen is I would take that resolution, like let's say you voted on resolution 313 as amended
Yes.
tonight, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
I would take that, I would basically put a cover letter on it, send that to Lee Curry with MDE, saying, please, review this and processes and review and approve this. So that would then go from me to him. That would take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to do that. And then they would come back with one of three options. They deny it, they approve it, or they approve it with changes. Yeah, conditions or changes, yes. So then that would probably, the same situation would happen if you went with 327. If the county council is moving forward with 327, a new resolution that's amending the comp water sewer plan, after the planning commission finds it consistent, the county council votes for it, it's now pending MDE approval. So, and then I don't know how MDE is going to respond to that.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had enough conversations with MDE. They don't want to overrule a local government.
Right.
If they trust that we go through a process and they're pretty much going to approve the things that we send to them because they know we've gone through an entire process.
They did before.
Well, different
This was
administration.
126.
But what I would say is, I don't think we're jumping in between a developer and a town because it's our comp water and sewer plan, and and we've already been through this, that they have to come to us. They needed to come to us to get our permission to do it. That's why 281 existed in the first place. They had to come to us. It's not their comp water and sewer plan, it's ours, hence you saw 17 of them this evening. And, whether it's an individual property, whether it's a municipality, or whether it's our own change, it has to go through us, that we are the governing body for that. So that's the only thing I would say, is that we're not jumping in between the town and the developer, because they have to go through us to begin with.
I think we are, and I think we would be confusing MDE because the town is still accepting hookups from other properties in town. So if I took the position, as I'm going to move that we vote down 313 in its entirety and have a majority vote that it is voted down, and then provide you direction to send a letter of support to MDE requesting them to expedite the permits and work with us in any capacity that we can work with the municipality of TRAPPE to improve their facility and fund it as quickly as we can, which I see as the compromise that nobody asked for. TRAPPE on their own went out and decided to upgrade their plant, while the developer had already said that they were going to build their own plant. So I do see us getting in the way of things, because we're looking at 120 houses that are going to hook up to this plant. And yes, it sounds scary, but I see septics fail all the time in this community. And we just voted on legislation right now to clean up septics. And so if we end this, we allow them to hook up, the TRAPPE plant gets built, it gets improved faster, we do everything we can with the developer to improve that facility, we're going to direct the majority of the development in this community to one municipality that's going to have two of the best wastewater treatment facilities. And I see that as a win. In the short time, I'm extremely concerned about all of our rivers, but they haven't failed. And Shore Rivers didn't fail Trapp Creek. Are there issues? Certainly. Could it be better? Absolutely. Could we maybe add those houses that have septics on Trapp Creek to improve it? Certainly. Have they asked? No. Could they? Yes. But they're not going to, and they're not. And so I think we have Mr. Clark, the developer, and Shore Rivers all said that they would prefer Mr. Clark to run the facility if they could, not the developer. I think we have everything in-house that we can, all the tools that we need to monitor TRAPPE, to help a municipality in our county do the best that they can. And we have that ability. We know how to fix problems, and we know how to monitor. And that's what this comes down to, is monitoring and making the small actions quickly enough to keep the numbers in compliance. And I get so frustrated with the community that says things like, it's just the little town of TRAPPE. How are they going to hire anybody who can run that facility? That's so offensive. It's the same thing with the town council. Oh, they're just the town council. How are they going to maintain? That's what we staff for. That's such an offensive opinion that is being spread over and over again when we do have the talent to do this. And when I see focused growth and being on the Neighborhood Service Center, I recognize the need for affordable housing. Hearing what the police force are going to be earning, hearing what teachers are going to be earning, here's an opportunity for us to cause a developer more delays, more calls that he's going to put back on the homes. No wonder building is so expensive. You heard the ARC, they're building, what, 8 rooms for $7 million that are going to be affordable housing for people to live in. Who's giving out $8 million to continue to build housing for free or low-income individuals? No. What are we doing? We have economic development that's working hard to bring careers here to balance out the economy so that people can afford to live here. We have a developer here that said, I'm not building another Cook's Hope with 4,000 or 5,000 square foot homes. I'm going to build mixed-use homes that everybody can transition through. And here we are saying, no, you're going to have to change your plant to spray irrigation, or no, maybe direct discharge is better. And here's a municipality that nobody's talking to that just on their own went out and improved their plan. What a great confidence booster that they know what's going on. I love talking with them. I feel much more confident every single time I have a discussion with them. But something better comes out every time I talk to the TRAPPE Town Council. Yes, we've done this. Yes, we're moving in this direction. Yes, we're seeking funding. And here we are saying, I don't know, we don't really trust you. We're going to try it this way for 100 homes. When nobody's complaining about the apartments, the lots, everything else that's being hooked up out there. So I appreciate you resending 308. That gave us a lot of time to do our research, to do our homework, to reach out to developers. This is not the first development in Maryland. This is not the first development on the East Coast. There's rivers all over the place. I've taken the time to talk to them and see how that's done. And I have a lot of confidence in us, and I have a lot of confidence in our staff, and I have a lot of confidence in our municipalities. I think this is going to be a win. I'm ready to get there. I'm done debating it. I'm ready to make the motion to resend, or to vote down 313, 281 stands, the developer gets to move on. Is that correct? How that would happen?
Well, Mr. DeVillio, I would turn to Mrs. Price and ask her that you're looking for a compromise.
Sure.
Would you be willing to withdraw 313? Okay, bear with me. Go to 327. Let the planning commission take a look at it.
Oh, 327
Okay,
to go forward.
so if we all can get to a place, that works, 327, then that Ray just said, we turn that over to NDE.
But
That's what.
They're already vested. They've already paid.
I
You said
know
the lines.
that. I know that.
So with Laura's plan, it's a package unit. You're going to force the developer to purchase a package unit to put out there and not use the line that they've already paid for and run.
So
We wouldn't force anything, the NDE would.
If 327 would say that they could not hook up to
No.
those houses.
So we'll.
To the TRAPPE plan, right?
So, can I interject?
Go ahead.
So again,
Yeah.
two different things. As far as the long-term solution and help, we can't do anything really to speed up the TRAPPE wastewater treatment plant. It just takes time, and that's moving forward, and we are going to be very supportive of that. I'm supportive of that, regardless of whether Lakeside existed. That plant.
327 specifically.
I'm not talking about 327 right now. I'm just trying to get at the big picture. Whether Lakeside existed or not, that wastewater treatment plant needed to be upgraded, just like Tillman and others, and the Wyatt Preserve, all of that stuff. I think we all agree on the fact that we want to have the best technology possible for our wastewater treatment plants. And that is going to move forward, whether Lakeside development ever was on the map or not. And yeah, maybe over the next couple of years, maybe they will find a way for something just to, instead of building 2. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. My concern is the short-term connection that is not going to be good for that river. And nothing about, you know, whether it's 313 or 327, depending on what the amendment had been on 313, let's just say 327 as it goes through a process, doesn't stop their development at all. I mean, and we'll discuss it a little further as we go forward, but they could, again, there's modular, temporary, that they can bring in and just let it filter through there, and then it would still more than likely go over to the trap plant. But what you've done is you put a little, I'm just going to be simple, a little unit in between. You got houses, you have an ENR little unit, and then you go on over to the trap wastewater treatment plant. It's already been treated to ENR, and yet they're still receiving it. So you don't need to get a discharge permit in the middle of this process, because I did get a memo back from MDE today that if you did the little modular temporary thing, that they would still need a discharge permit. Well, that's going to take too long and all that, but you can. I'm going to say it's a little filter unit is what I'm basically trying to describe it as. However many homes, filter unit, pipe it on over to the wastewater treatment plant. So what you've done is you've found a way, a compromise, to treat that effluent to ENR levels, still go to the trap wastewater treatment plant while they're figuring out the long-term solution. So I'm not stopping anything at all, never.
So you are going to, so 327, as you see it, would be forcing the developer to purchase and build a package unit and pump their effluent over to the trap plant for the trap to discharge.
That is one solution. If there's a better solution for them, again.
So what does TRAPPE think about that? Because I haven't had an opportunity to ask
Well,
them.
they've already accepted that they're going to take a certain amount of EDUs at the trap plant as long as they have capacity. So we're not changing that at all. I just want the effluent to be to a better level. The technology exists.
Have you addressed that with the town of Trappe? Is that even an option that they would be willing to?
Well, they're going to take it anyway. Why wouldn't they take cleaner effluent?
Why haven't you talked to them? August 24th is when we rescinded this.
Okay, we're not going to do all this tonight because
I'm 100% going to do all this.
327 is not what we're discussing right now. We're going to deal with 313, and we're going to see what we're going to do with 327. So right now,
that has everything to do with my action tonight. I'm not going to make an action tonight until I know what 327 is going to be.
I'm not willing to just let them connect to until we go through the process.
Well, we don't even know if that's a feasible option because you haven't spoken with the municipality.
I've spoken with MDE, and it is a feasible option. And if it costs the developer a little bit more money, then it does. It might not. Maybe pump and hose.
More money.
So why don't we do
we're
this?
not talking, right now, right on the agenda right now is 313 with the amendment, so let's deal with that.
So let's deal with that. Are you willing to withdraw that?
Well, so it's not my amendment, it's actually Mr. Lesher's at this point,
Mr.
so.
Lesher, can we get the 327?
Well, three of you introduced it, Mr. Callahan, Mr. Lesher, and Mr.
Correct. And I will withdraw.
You
already did.
Yeah, I did.
So what do we need to do? Do we need to vote on the amendment since it's gone to the Planning Commission officially?
Well, there's a couple of options. One, it's Mr. Lesher's amendment. He could withdraw it, and then you're left with 313, and then you could vote to withdraw 313.
Because it's not consistent.
Because it was determined not to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Or you could vote on make a motion, somebody would have to make a motion on the amendment to 313, and they would have to get a second, you'd have a vote, and if it's approved, then you have to vote on 313 as amended. If it fails, then you're back to having to withdraw Resolution 313 as introduced.
So will the developer go for this?
It's not my job is to determine whether the developer or the town will go for it. I'm trying to do what's best for the county. That's my job.
But you have to,
the development's
you're just dictating what everybody's going to do without even addressing. I don't understand. If you're going to come to a compromise, you speak to both parties and you figure out what they can compromise on.
I've put forth three compromises that protects the rivers and the citizens of Talbot County, which is what I was elected to do, not to protect the developer.
And I don't feel that I'm putting them in harm's way.
A lot of people feel differently, so there's difference of opinion on the effluent that's going to go out, and the technology exists, so I'm just trying to go through a process that gives now the developer options to go through ENR technology, which can be done.
So help me understand how you got to this process. Who did you work with to figure out the
That's,
package
you know what,
unit?
I don't need to have that discussion up here with you, what process I went through.
I would appreciate it because I'm getting ready to make a decision on how I'm voting on 313
Okay.
based off of what could happen in the future.
So, Mr. Lesher, do you want to withdraw Amendment 1, or do you want us to vote on Amendment 1?
Well, honestly, since last summer, I've heard from hundreds of our constituents, and they have asked us to do something about this. They have concerns about the health of Trappe Creek. They have some broader concerns. This is fairly narrowly focused. This amendment is fairly narrowly focused on not this whole lakeside development, but just on that first phase, that first 120 homes. Not one of those people that we've heard from has said to leave things as the council set forth in Resolution 281 as amended. That not one of them has said that the sewer plan that we set forth there and approved by MDE is good enough. The only exceptions that we've heard from, to the contrary, are those who represent either the town of Trappe or the developer rocks in some sort of official capacity, those in whose financial interest it is to leave the arrangements as they are. I think that we owe it to our constituents to vote for this amendment on 313. And so I will ask us to vote on that. This is a vote for cleaner water.
That is offensive, because to say that the only people that we've heard from are from a financial interest in this, was it to Trappe's financial interest to upgrade their plant to ENR?
They're going to get money for that. That's not really a lot coming out
Was
of
it to
it.
their financial interest? Do they have the cash in hand to immediately
You know what?
upgrade
It's
to
about
ENR?
responsibility to being good to
Why
the
not tell
environment.
the developer that they need to do the plant for the entire town? That would have been in their financial interest.
And that's still a possibility, Mr. DeVillio.
No,
This
but you
is
just
the
said
short-
that the only people that we're hearing from are those who are going to financially benefit from this.
Well, he's not completely wrong. I think of all the citizens that we've heard from, they all have concerns about this. The only one, I mean, I think Mr. Lesher's statement is true, that all we have heard from to leave things as is. I think he's absolutely right.
He's absolutely right that the SPY has only put out one side of this whole story. And he's absolutely right that the Star Democrat, here, hasn't put out anything about how wonderful it'll be for people to afford housing in this community. Nobody's talked about how wonderful it'll be to have multiple restaurants in that town.
And we get to
Nobody's talked about that Easton Elementary School's at capacity. But everybody keeps saying, where are the kids going to go to school at Trappe? 4,500 lots here in Easton we could still develop, and nobody's concerned about where those students are going to go.
Oh, I'm concerned about the other two developments, but I think Mr. Lesher we're trying to deal with the vote here now.
Yes, we're trying to figure out if we're going to force this developer to buy a package unit and pump their effluent over to the town of Trappe without having discussed with the town of Trappe if they're willing to do with that. Or how they would do it financially, if there would be a cost. I would assume if a development comes and is going to pump effluent to one of our wastewater treatment facilities, we'd have a shared agreement with them or something, right? Wouldn't we have to work with them?
Yeah.
So has that been addressed or thought of?
We've heard from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have concerns, and I think that we need to find some kind of solution. They're clearly saying, as Mr. Lesher said, they're not okay with this as written. So
Have we seen the article about congratulations to the town of Trappe for improving their plant to ENR or setting,
They're gonna
deciding
get
to?
all kinds of
Have we
funds.
seen anything from Dan Watson, Shore Rivers, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, any of the organizations who are against this development coming? Have we seen anybody from them say, "Oh, thank you, Trappe. We didn't know that you were going to do this"? Because they did, and the only way you did is if you talked to the town of Trappe.
I've known Trappe was going to upgrade for 2 years. That was going to happen with or without Lakeside. That is not, Trappe upgrading has really nothing to do with Lakeside.
With or without Lakeside.
Right.
That they would upgrade to.
Absolutely.
To ENR standards.
Yes, because you're going to get all kinds of grant funding to do something like that. Mr. Clark finds that kind of grant funding, he's a magician, he finds it all the time.
Yes, but he doesn't apply one whole facility over what, how many homes are in the town's draft? It would not have been a feasible financial option.
So
You guys are going to continue to delay this until, I don't understand why we can't just vote down 313 and let the powers be sue MDE and prove that MDE was fine. and
each
we
council
move
member
forward.
gets a vote, so let's take it.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I mean, I don't know really what we're doing. I mean, the amendment is before us to vote, right?
Yes.
So that you don't need a motion, just call the vote.
It needs a motion, somebody has to make a motion to adopt the amendment, then it needs a second, and then you put it to a vote.
You just did.
Oh,
Okay.
You just did.
Okay, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
No.
Mr. DeFilio?
No.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
No.
Well, unamended, I think we have no option then. The Planning Commission has found this Resolution 313 without amendment to be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, and so I am forced to withdraw my sponsorship.
Okay.
Myself as well.
So I would like to go ahead and request that we send a letter to MDE explaining that we're prepared to move forward with legislation as passed, and that we would like their help and would be willing to help them in any possible way to help improve TRAPPE's plant as quickly as we can, as well as getting permits.
That's not on our agenda this evening, and there's another resolution that's pending. So since it's not on our agenda, we didn't amend it into the agenda, I don't believe we should do that.
I believe that they have to send a letter over to MDE based off of this vote.
Actually, we do not, sir,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, this is one point of clarification. I believe, I forget which meeting, Mr. Callahan, so bear with me.
Okay.
When we were dealing with the letter from MDE, and I asked you what would be the next step, we had the work session with the Planning Commission regarding the letter from MDE, and you said that after we took the vote on consider 308, that we would send our response back to the Planning Commission. Do you remember?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
to
right.
Mr. Villio's point,
Yeah.
308 has now been resolved.
Right.
So we should follow what you said and send that response back to MDA.
Because they needed a response from
Right.
us.
And you said that we would wait till after we dealt with
You're
308.
right. I remember.
I'm taking you as
You're
your word as
right.
man.
You're right.
As we dealt with 308. Not wait again.
Right. No,
for
you're
327.
you're 100%
But you said you
right.
would wait till 308.
Yep.
That's what you told me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I make a motion that we submit a letter to MDE explaining what we've done, our stance, and that we would prefer to have them work as fast as they can to help TRAPPE improve their plant, and that we were willing to work with them as well. That's my motion.
I'll second.
So that is just a letter about the TRAPPE wastewater treatment plant, which really isn't.
That's what we've done tonight.
Right, it doesn't, you know, it's not, I mean, that's a good thing no matter what. It doesn't really have anything to do with the other resolution that's out there.
It does have something to do with Resolution 281, which was, this upgrade, I believe, was one of the things that was enabled by Resolution 281.
Well, we all want the TRAPPE wastewater treatment plant upgraded regardless.
Madam Secretary, could you call the vote? We've got a motion second.
But I don't, we need to see we are going to need to see the letter. I would like to see.
Okay.
Can we, I mean, how do I vote on a letter that I don't know what the wording is?
Well, you'll see it when you read it, and if you don't like it, we'll change it.
That's, I'm sorry, you have to pass it before you know what's in it. I think I've heard that line before. I think I would like to see the draft letter. Of course, I am supportive of anything MDE can do to expedite the TRAPPE wastewater treatment plant. But if it starts getting wrapped up in all the other stuff, then I'd be hesitant about it. So is there any way that we can actually see the draft letter? Because I don't want to vote for or against something when I don't actually know the verbiage that's in it.
I think we can draft a letter and bring it back to the council for approval by the next meeting.
Okay.
Certainly, and then you can
Fair
approve it.
enough.
We can send it. In the meantime, I think one of us can just reach out to NBE informally just to let them know what happened, and the letter will be forthcoming so that they're aware.
Okay, I have a motion second. Madam Secretary. could you
Well, wait,
call the
we're
vote?
not. They're going to draft it first, right?
Why, no.
Well, I think the motion should be to direct staff and the Office of Law to draft a letter for council's approval at the next meeting.
Okay,
So,
yes.
That's fine.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Yeah, why not?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Diane? You need a break?
Yeah, that's still,
Need a little break, 5 minutes?
yeah, so that will.
I'd call
so we'll
recess,
go in
Madam
April-
Secretary.
April meeting. Do you have enough time?
Okay.
We should. And then I guess we'll do the public works.
here, so, Madam Secretary, next thing on the agenda is discussion of pending general legislation. Okay.
We have 4 pieces of legislation
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
One is House Bill, the first one is House Bill 1476, Correctional Officers Retirement System, Talbot County, for the purpose of requiring membership in the Correctional Officers Retirement System for certain local detention center officers of Talbot County in the event Talbot County becomes a participating governmental unit in the Correctional Officers Retirement System, providing that certain local detention center officers who join the Correctional Officers Retirement System and receive certain service credit shall no longer be members of the employees' pension system, and generally relating to Talbot County's participation in the Correctional Officers Retirement System.
Okay. There we go.
Well, this is legislation that was introduced by our delegates at our request, and this is all about, I believe, recruitment and retention of our correctional officers. One of the several areas in which we've had a challenge in recruitment and retention, and I am grateful to our representatives in Annapolis for getting this in this year. We were told that it was an uphill battle to make this happen, and I think that we need to do what we can to make sure that this becomes a possibility for us. It does require state enabling legislation, as we've been told, and so I'll move that we send a letter of support for this legislation.
Second.
Okay. And again, very brief, I'll join Mr. Lesher in thanking both Senator Eckert and Delegate Mouts for their work on this, understanding the importance of it. We are seeing our correctional officers take on more and more responsibility, and with Kent County has already moved their correctional officers into the system. I think you're going to see a lot more of the local correction departments move this way. The state correctional officers are already in the 20-year plan, the Corps' plan, and it just makes sense that we treat our officers under the same vein. They are taking more. If you go look at the current roster right now over at the detention center, the number of federal inmates that we are holding, the number that we're holding of state inmates pending sentencing. Again, I certainly will support this. I hope that we do get it passed the legislature.
Me too.
And I think it's about time that we treat our law enforcement officers and our correctional officers with the dignity that they deserve.
Yep.
So because this was introduced late, has to go through the Rules Committee first. So we have to get through, we have to get a hearing set for in the Rules Committee, and then it has to get out of rules. I mean, there's just been so much legislation being written kind of last minute that it didn't meet the deadline by a few weeks ago. So hopefully we can get it done this year, but we do have a couple of hurdles to get past. And the first one is to get through the Rules Committee. So I guess we need to probably prepare letters, to the Rules Committee first, and then if it gets out of rules, we'll just need to then readdress the top heading of that to the committee that it will end up in after it, crossing fingers that it gets through rules as well. So we'll end up needing 2 letters, being optimistic. And then I don't see the cross-file yet. I don't see that Senator Eckert has the cross-file. Maybe you just have to go, maybe when it's late like this, you just go through one house first. And then if it gets through, maybe then you can cross-file.
Madam Secretary, we got a motion second to grant a letter.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right?
Okay.
The second piece of legislation this evening is House Bill 1262, Talbot County Speed Monitoring Systems, intersection of Maryland Route 333, Oxford Road, and Bondfield Avenue.
Again, our local delegation has done this. This is special legislation for speed monitoring at a location that is not near a school and therefore requires special legislation in the General Assembly. There are only a few of these in the state, and this is an uphill battle to do. This is at a location, as some people might recall, where there was a pedestrian death a couple of years ago from a speeding vehicle. I'll move that we send a letter of support.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Abstain.
And our third piece of legislation is Senate Bill 726 and House Bill 1187, Transportation, Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution for the purpose of altering the amounts of certain capital grants calculated based on highway user revenues that are required to be appropriated to Baltimore City, counties, and municipalities in certain fiscal years, and generally relating to revenue for and distributions of highway user revenues.
I can give you a little background on this one, as most, I think people have heard me talk about this one for probably about 12 years now. In 2008-9 era, when there was a big recession, the state cut the county user revenues by 90%. We used to receive, it was a 70-30 split, 70% to the state, 30% to the locals, of which, of that amount, the counties received 15%. It was cut down to 1.5% about 12 years ago. This has been MACO's #1 initiative almost every year. Sometimes we've wrapped it into infrastructure, but we felt like with all of the infrastructure money that was coming down, that this was the year to go for getting full restoration. We have been partially restored to 3.2%, but again, nowhere near the 15% that we used to receive. The governor has a bill, and that's HB 410, I believe. Unfortunately, his bill only, so we got the restoration to 3.2%, but it's only till fiscal year 24. And then it stops and we would actually revert back to 1.5%. The governor's bill, which is not this one, his is House Bill 410, only gets rid of what I call the cliff effect and just keeps 3.2% for, permanent. His bill also requires documentation to prove what projects we haven't done. So while we appreciate, the permanency of at least keeping what we have, MACO's like, that's not enough. So we certainly went forward with our bill for full restoration. The hearings tomorrow in the Senate and Thursday in the House, which will also have an opportunity. I'm going to testify on both of those. We'll have an opportunity to comment as favorable with amendments on the governor's bill. But what I'd like the council to do is to support the testimony that I'm going to give on behalf of all the counties, to have Talbot County have its own letter, which I think is basically prepared. We had a template to work from, that we are able to submit a letter for both the Senate and the House bills. So I'll make a motion for that.
And I'll second, but I'd like to add to this, just for the public's benefit. When we buy a gallon of gas in Maryland, we pay fuel taxes, and those fuel taxes are supposed to pay for our roads, all of our roads. But as Mrs. Price explained, 10 years ago, the state decided to keep most of those funds just for state highways and not share them with municipalities and counties. So they stopped paying for local roads. Now, your fuel taxes didn't go down. Just the portion that went to pay for local roads was diverted away from local roads. This will restore that allocation that had existed previously, and local roads will once again be fixed with a fair share of your fuel taxes.
And I will also say that the sign up for the House has passed, but you have until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to sign up for the Senate. The hearing is tomorrow, and you can literally go onto the Maryland General Assembly website, create an account with just make your email address and password, and you can upload a letter. I mean, you're probably not going to go and testify at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. However, if anybody's out there listening, you know, go on the web tonight, go on the web first thing tomorrow morning and upload a letter to the Senate, Maryland General Assembly website, in support of full restoration to the counties. That'd be great.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, good.
Do you want us to put that together tonight?
She's already got the letter.
Okay, cool, okay.
Ready to go.
Okay.
So that, yeah, but, you know, so we've got one, and she's doing it with all 5 of our signatures, and I think that's more impactful than just the president's. If you're good with that, Mr. President, having all 5 of our names on there?
He's got the biggest signature.
You brought me down. You brought me way down on that one. Okay. All right, we got a motion second, write a letter.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher? Aye. Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right. Okay, great.
And I believe the last piece of legislation for consideration is House Bill 1448, District Court Concurrent Civil Jurisdiction Violation of Ordinances, for the purpose of establishing that the District Court has concurrent civil jurisdiction with a governing body of a county or the mayor and city council of Baltimore over a proceeding for adjudication of a violation of certain ordinances and generally relating to the district court and concurrent civil jurisdiction.
I think probably Mr. Thomas is best to explain this one.
Sure. So this legislation is in response to the recent Court of Appeals opinion in the Angel Enterprises case, in which the Court of Appeals stated that local boards of appeal are not authorized to adjudicate these civil infractions, and what this that the courts exclusively had that authority. So what this bill would do is give concurrent jurisdiction to the district court and to the governing body of a county, and that it would also allow for counties to delegate its authority to a board, commission, agency, or officer under its jurisdiction or control. So it would address the issue in that case. It would allow, in this case, it would allow the county to have the Board of Appeals hear these types of violations.
And this is something that, when this happened, and, you know, mentioning this to MACO, we actually consider this as an initiative, but there was just so many other initiatives. But MACO has been working on this because it doesn't just affect Talbot County.
Right.
There's several other counties that this affects, and I'm not sure I can't remember which jurisdiction Delegate Clippinger is from, who introduced this. But again, it's just one of those things where all these hearings are coming at the tail end because there's just so many. But at least this one does not have to go through rules. This will be in the judiciary on March 15th. So, yeah, so we'll go and testify on that and send a letter of support because it came from Talbot County. I mean, when we got the memo, it was like this one was introduced because of Talbot.
And I certainly will be supporting this. This is one that just makes sense. When you have a citizen who violates a local ordinance, zoning in this particular case, why wouldn't that local ordinance be addressed by a local appeals board? You know, whether or not the amount of the fine or the assessment thereof is appropriate. He already has, or that individual would have appellate rights, he could appeal, but why wouldn't you start at the local level since it's a local ordinance? So this was one that totally escaped me, and I think we didn't find out about this until we had gone to our 3rd or 4th hearing, that someone dug this up out of some antiquated code and said, hey, look, you don't have rights to hear this. So, yeah, this is one that I'm hoping gets fixed across the board. All 24 jurisdictions need to also be behind this as well. So I'll certainly support it.
And I just looked him up. He's from Baltimore City, so they must have an issue there in Baltimore City.
I actually spoke with one of the city solicitors in Baltimore about this, and they were supportive of it because they had the same concerns.
Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. Yes, I spoke to one of the city solicitors from Baltimore about this, and they have the same system in Baltimore, so they were concerned about the impact of that decision, and I think they're going to be supportive of this.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to send a letter of support.
Okay, we got a motion and second to send a letter.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
And I just got a text from Mr. Stamp, and he said that Senator Eckert has dropped the bill, and it's SB 997 for the correctional officers bill.
Let me thank her again.
What's the number?
997.
Yep, send them, yeah, for the correctional officers.
Next up. Next is County Manager Jess.
All right.
Hey.
Hi there.
How you doing? Good.
Thank you, Susan. You did a lot of reading.
Yep,
tonight.
she did. She did. You guys are doing a good job.
All right, next is a request from trustees of Third Haven Friends Meeting for a letter of support for a grant application to Preservation Maryland Heritage Fund.
So moved.
Got a motion and,
Second.
okay, motion second. Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Great, and council, as you are well aware, you did provide funding in the budget for Hog Neck Golf Course to do an irrigation project, which was well needed. Rich Setter, the golf course manager, has provided an update to you. That project is on schedule and still scheduled for completion at the end of May.
Nice.
We have a request tonight from the Department of Public Works to award bid 1708, Open-Ended Engineering Services Agreement. This is a recommendation to award architectural and engineering services for Talbot County North EMS Station schematic design. Ray is here this evening. We are requesting council approval to award architectural and engineering services for the Talbot County North EMS Station schematic design to Davis, Bowen, and Friedel in the amount of $28,800. There are sufficient funds in the capital project for this project. If council is supportive of moving forward this evening, we would request that a committee be appointed to include Mr. Callahan, Mr. Stamp, Brian LaKates, Director of EMS, and a representative of Public Works to work with Davis, Bowen, and Friedel on this project.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and second to go ahead and move forward with Davis Fidel on a design of the new substation when it on the way to Cordova. Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
And I just want to say one thing, that's huge for the county. So I'm proud of council and proud of EMS and Brian and all his staff over there with 911. I mean, this is huge for them. In the last couple years, it's been very tough on them. So this gives them a little bit of flexibility of knowing what's going on in the future and knowing that they have a council that's going to back them and keep an eye on the citizens and better responses. That's what it's all about. So, you know, I'm really happy for the citizens that they're going to get this type of service. So it means a lot.
Absolutely. And then while Mr. Clark is here at the table, I did just want to give an opportunity for him to discuss the Regional Agricultural Scrap Tire Collection event that is being held by Maryland Environmental Service. That is taking place at the Midshore Regional Landfill in Caroline County. It's being held March 21st through the 25th, and again, March 28th through April 1st. And I'll give Ray an opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, this is actually, they'll be actually accepting ag tires free of charge. So I would say, you know, if there's a farmer in Talbot County that's interested in getting rid of their ag tires, I'd highly recommend getting there early and do it the first week, because it is going to be limited funding. So if they can get there with their ag tires that first week, they'll probably have those tires taken away free of charge.
That's great.
Great. And if anybody has any questions about that project, they can call Public Works at 410-770-8170 or look at the Talbot County website.
Great.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Ray.
Next, we have 2 items for Parks and Recreation, the first of which is to extend the current contract for bid 1716, grass cutting services, parks, ball fields, and landings for Talbot County.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and second. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right.
Second is to extend the current contract for bid 1717, portable sanitary chemical toilet service in Talbot County.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right.
And we have a request from the Roads Department to utilize fiscal year 22 funding to piggyback on a contract with Somerset County for tar and chip services.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion second. Madam Secretary, call the vote.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
All right.
Great, and then the last thing this evening, Council, is just an announcement that the Talbot County Department of Planning and Zoning, which does include permits and inspections, has gone live with OpenGov. So that means that any citizen or contractor that wants to apply for a permit will now be going through the OpenGov platform, which is on our Talbot County website. If anybody's has any questions or needs a little help, please reach out to Planning and Zoning 410-770-8030. And that concludes the report.
Right. Good. Sounds great. Good job, Jess.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Pack.
Yep. So,
Moving right along.
moving right along. Okay. Public comment.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Come on up.
I've been sitting here.
You've been very patient, very patient.
My name is Gerald Giuliani. I'm with Manel Green Power, and we're the company that is developing the solar farm in the Cordova vicinity, in the
Yes, sir.
vicinity of Cordova.
Yes.
And this project began development in 2018, and we submitted a pre-application in November of 2021, and then we learned a couple weeks ago that, or last week, that this solar moratorium was going to be called, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that the county wants to reassess where they are and how they can protect prime ag land and essentially,
Yes, sir.
and figure out a creative way to get some amount funding, and we support that. I wanted to say that we are available to speak with planning and zoning and see if we can help simplify the process, come up with practical solutions. You know, we are solar developers. We've been doing that. We do this in 20 states. We have 60 operating projects, et cetera. So if we are able to participate and allow for practical solutions with planning and zoning, we'd be more than happy to do that.
That's great. That's great. I got one question.
Yes.
Did you happen to do the one in Herlock that was just done?
No.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I do not know that project.
Yeah, there was a couple hundred acres there that was just done.
Okay, in what county? What town?
It was in...
Dorchester.
It would be Dorchester. Yeah, it's Dorchester County.
Okay, is that Blue Ridge? It might be Blue Ridge Solar.
Yeah, I was
That's not
just
ours.
curious. I was just curious because it's big.
Well, we currently have 3 projects in development in Maryland today. We have one in Caroline County.
Oh, you do?
That's,
Okay.
somewhat advanced. And then we have the project here in Talbot County, and we have one more in Queen Anne's County.
The one you have going on in Talbot, how big is it right now?
Well, that is a 59 megawatt project.
Okay.
And to correct some information I heard a little bit earlier, it's really only affecting about 360 acres, not 750.
Okay.
So, I mean, the initial disturbance was much larger, but once we conclude with various environmental studies and we understand the constraints, then we can actually reduce the footprint.
Yeah, 750 acres wasn't the size of your project. 750 acres is what we've set aside as our share of the amount of acreage that the state wanted to do for those types of projects. And so we just took our fair share and come up with 750 acres. That wasn't the size of your project.
Okay.
So that helps clarify.
Mr. Pack?
Yeah. And thank you, I'm sorry, I didn't write.
Gerald Giuliani.
Mr. Giuliani. Thank you for coming up and as Ms. Callahan said, being so patient. And I would hope that the Planning Commission, I know that Mr. Salinas is already gone, does include expert matters, subject matters as yourself at their hearings. I would almost insist that they do. I know when we did the previous moratorium several years ago, that body that we put together, they did take information from other sources. When we did our legislation on fire suspension, making sure that sprinklers were in homes, new buildings in Talbot County, we got expert subject matters to give testimony on that. So you would think something of this nature, they would need to hear from persons like yourself in the industry. And I would almost insist that Mr. Salinas pass it on to the Planning Commission, that when they have that hearing, they invite you at the table.
Well, we appreciate that, and just as I mentioned, when we build a project, we own it and we operate it, and that's generally for 30, 35 years. So we become members of the community, and we want to be seen as members of the community that are not only coming up with early solutions, but also contributing over the life of the project. So we're not a developer that's going to come in, develop a project, and sell it necessarily. Our intention is to own it and operate it for the life of the project.
Thank you, and I'll go make sure we pass it on to Mr. Salinas.
Thank you very much.
Do you have a card?
I do.
Could you move it with Mr. Thomas,
Sure.
please?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys good?
Yeah.
Good? Okay, well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you coming here tonight. That's very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sure. I'll pass this on to you.
Just observing.
Okay. All right, so now nobody's, okay, we're done. Okay, so now we're doing council comment.
We're the only ones standing between us and going home.
Exactly. I got Mr. Pack over there laughing, but he's in good mood. He's in good mood. You know?
I'm feeling much better.
You're feeling, and I'm proud of you. I told you that.
I know, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The medication is working.
Yeah, it really is.
But you are missing your basketball game.
I have a tape.
It's all right. It's all right. Got anything for us?
I don't have anything. I mean,
Okay.
I would just say it's
Okay.
good to be back in
Okay.
the Bradley meeting room once again.
Okay.
Unmasked.
Yep.
And vaccinated and boosted and
Yep.
all that kind of fun stuff. I would say, just as a note, we're not done with this virus yet. So I just want to tell people, let's continue to be vigilant. Doing the things you need to do to keep yourself safe. If you're not feeling well, as I was a couple of weeks ago, stay home. Don't go into the office and sneeze and all over people. Stay home and keep yourself safe. I think Mr. Stamp took that to heart, and he stayed home today instead of being around Miss Morris and Miss Moran and getting them sick. So if you're not feeling well, please stay home. Other than that, good to be here with you.
No problem.
That's probably good advice, no matter what kind of illness you have. It doesn't really matter whether it's COVID or the flu or just the common cold. Nobody wants your germs. So, no, I just agree that it's good to be back in person. I think sometimes it also sets a much better tone while we're still going to have, good discussion up here. It's different in person, and you can kind of feel what's going on, and I think it's a big improvement to sometimes what happens, just on the internet, whether it's a council meeting or whether it's social media or whatever. People feel like they can say more, and I think when you have to be in person and be accountable for what you say and what you do, it's so much better to be in person in any scenario. So I'm glad to be back.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Villio.
I just wanted to say that I went to the annual weed control committee meeting that we have once a year. There's a new weed control coordinator. His name is J.D. Nader. Tons of energy. Very excited about the job. And his biggest goal right now is just to get out the word about who he is and what they do. We have a lot of noxious weeds around. The farmers know about it. They keep an eye out for it. But the regular homeowners, especially those with second homes who aren't down here all the time, pay a landscaper to take care of it. there's a new weed that's come out that goes from seed to seed in 40 days, and it is bad. I mean, this thing really grows, it's low growing, you really have to really keep an eye on it. But JD is excited. I'm sure we're all going to see his name around at different Rotary events talking and things. This will be a nice change for the weed control coordinator, seeing them out and about. And I think you guys, when you meet him, you're going to be excited.
Excited about weed control.
Yeah, they take over quick.
I know they do.
Yes.
So we gotta be careful, bad weed.
Bad weed. Bad weed.
Gotcha.
Watch yourself now.
That's what the man said.
And just one other thing, just piggyback on the COVID stuff, because I did this and I was a total jerk. I pulled up to an office today and they had a sign on that you had to wear a mask, and I grumpily put one on, and I walk inside and she's 8 months pregnant. And I'm like, how rude can I be? Of course she's concerned. She's going to have COVID going into the birthing unit now that they just allowed parents back in there. So you never know why, just be compassionate. If I wasn't.
And I still carry mine with me today.
There you go.
Mr. Vice President.
I have no comment tonight.
Wow. You did a good job. You did a good job. Yeah, well, I just got a few words too. So, you know, it was, you know, tonight was great. I'm glad to be back. Like Ms. Price said, I think we worked well together. It's just a different feel, and it's more real to people, and people can reach out to us, and you know, the people that, you know, can come in here and see us. It just makes it so much better. Jess and Susan, I really appreciate tonight you taking over for. I hope Clay, you know he's listening. You know that. You know.
He was texting.
Yes. I got you. Yeah. So we're hopefully he's getting better, and he'll be back tomorrow. And Patrick, appreciate this evening. You did a good job tonight, and
thank you.
You know, I know we had some tough things to kind of get over, but I just really want to make sure everybody understands. All five of us are trying to get into the same the finish line with a lot of this stuff with TRAPPE. So we'll get there. The other big thing that Jessica talked about was the finishing of the golf course. And I don't know if people realize how important that golf course is. And it's really something when you're coming in to Easton and into Talbot County. It's really a vital aspect of you know, what we're all about. And it's good to have, you know, I'm proud of council putting a couple $1 million in there to do that, and it's huge. It brings a lot of people here, and it's one of the best golf courses in Maryland. So I'm happy to support all that. So with that being said, Mr. Vice President.
The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 22nd, beginning at 6 o'clock p.m. The Council will be convening an open session at 4 o'clock p.m. for budget deliberations, and then adjourning into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. The Council will be holding budget deliberations as well on Thursday, March 10th, beginning at 4:30 p.m. Those deliberations will be held virtually through WebEx events. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
Got a motion second, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Good job.